everybody. Welcome to Frame Trap, the pre-E3 episode of Frame Trap, pre-Noodles and Broth. Joining me for this very special episode, at the end there is Daniel Bloodworth.
Hello.
And right next to him, back in action, back on Frame Trap, right where he belongs, Michael Huber.
Feels good to be here. Yeah. Happy to be here.
Yeah, Huber, I was doing the community showcase before this, and Huber came in, he's like, so bubbly, he's got all this energy.
Yeah,
I feed off that, man. I like it.
Yes, E3, days away, Ben.
I'll be your host for this episode. I'm Ben Moore, and I have an opening question for you.
Okay.
It's a softball, but I think it will create the right vibes for this episode. Mm-hmm. What is your favorite E3 memory? Not necessarily the like game announcement, but E3 memory that is personal to you. Something where you just went, wow.
You want to go, bud? I got one ready. I got one ready to go.
You probably have multiple.
You think I'm going to say Shenmue?
I did,
but it's
I did think you were going to say Shenmue.
Actually, the first E3 that I got to work, GTTV, with like Hoffman, Brandon Jones, Kyle Bossman. Jones the other day was talking about like loading up the trailers for the GT showcase or whatever, the GTTV E3 coverage. So then like I helped him with that. I was just an intern at the time.
Yeah. But
just like being a part of that behind the scenes, like E3, first one, crazy guests coming in, Kojima and stuff. Just
so I was a game trailers intern. And I do like you've told me about the GTTV intern experience a lot, but is that something like you think the Easy Allies community is that aware with? Like, can you give us kind of a brief summary of what it was like to be an intern at GTTV? Because it's very different than game trailers proper. Yeah,
we'd just go to like shoots kind of throughout the city every once in a while for like an episode.
Nice.
So I would go to like I Am 8-Bit. Like they would go there and film like bonus round and stuff. Keely would be there, and I would just like help.
So did you get to meet a lot of the guests that would come on?
Sometimes, nothing more than like casual conversation, really quick.
Yeah. Were there any that you were like, oh my god?
Like nothing like Kojima levels, you know, but like people I respect and look up to.
It's funny, Hubert, because when I asked that question, I had Kojima in my brain. I was like, Kojima level?
Always Kojima. But yeah, I would just set up lights and help out, like set up cables, just like.
Yeah. Was everybody pretty nice there?
So nice.
Treat you well?
Everyone.
Nice.
Not a bad day at all, ever.
Blood, do you have one ready to go?
There's so many things. I just think about like all the different things that have happened, you know, like I remember like the other day, like I shared the thing about like Wario having the crowd chant Xbox sucks.
Yes.
In the old school days.
Attitude or Nintendo. Yeah. is what Huber and Brad referred to it as. Yeah.
I remember before the Waybird came out, like they had like you could test Waybirds, and if you won in Smash Brothers, then like you could take a Waybird home with you.
Did you take a Waybird?
I don't think I was able to get one.
Gotcha.
And then
disappointing.
Just like.
Waybird.
I remember staying like overnight at GT at times. Like I'd actually brought like a freaking fold out cot, so I could just like upload stuff all night long. And I was like, all right, I need a nap, and then like get on the cot. And
epic.
Take a couple hours nap.
The dedication, man.
Man, there was the crazy.
Confirms that he sleeps.
The Snoop Dogg nonsense that Ryan Stevens threw me at.
Oh, the best.
There was
that interview is still out there, right? Like you could still watch
people
that.
have linked it. It's out there.
I don't know if I've ever watched the full thing. I should do that.
Yeah.
Treat myself. Yeah, Blood got to interview Snoop Dogg.
It is a treat.
There's a roundtable interview of
how nervous were you for that? Because you were kind of thrown into it, right?
Yeah, I mean, I was nervous just in the sake of like, what the crap am I even supposed to do and talk about? And like, I've had like all this pressure from the PR people to like ask about the album, and then like, I thought that was weird. I didn't know anything about the album, so I didn't know what to ask.
Do you remember what the album was?
No, I don't know. But it's like at the same time, like then I get this response from him, like, "Why are you asking about the album that came out months ago?" And I'm like, "Because they told me to. I don't know. What am I doing here?"
Yeah.
It's so
but yeah,
good.
There's a lot of fun
I would love
times.
another Bloodworth Snoop Dogg interview. I think, yeah.
Would you have him watch it before? Like, hey, watch this whole interview you did, or just go in like blind?
I think you go in blind. I think you pretend like this is like he doesn't know that it's the second time you're interviewing him, but you know. And you're like, hey, welcome back, Snoop.
People tend to recognize me though.
I don't even know what to say to that.
They just if you've seen me once before, somehow
Blood is an impact.
People remember. People will come up. Yeah,
I understand completely where you're coming from, but like we're talking about Snoop Dogg, one of the most famous rappers of all time, and you're like, I don't know, man. He'd probably remember me. I have an impact. I love it. I love it.
Somebody tweeted at me the other day. It was like, hey, I saw you walking down the street. I'm like, what? Can't even go out and get
Were
coffee.
they too nervous to say hi?
I think they were in a car, so they couldn't just like stop and find me.
You're walking down the street, the car comes to like a screeching halt right next to you. Blood, what's up? My E3 memory is definitely like very sentimental. So I remember when I found out about E3, and I found out about E3 through PSM, the unofficial PlayStation magazine. I'm not sure how many of you guys are familiar with that, but that magazine was, along with other magazines, was like a Bible to me. I just loved that thing. And I remember they did kind of just a small expose on E3, and I was like, this is a thing? Like, because at that time, I felt like I really had to hunt for like video games in a way. Like it didn't feel as like common now. It still felt like, oh, this is my interest, and unless I'm like reading a gaming magazine or something or actually playing a game, like it's not going to smack me in the face. And so it blew my mind that like hundreds of people would gather at a place to play unreleased video games, and there'd be like signs and like people in costume. It was just like, this is what I want. This is where I want to be. And I think, and I was very young. I think this was like 1998 that I found out about around that time. And I just wanted to go so bad, and it was my dream. And so just the E3 memory that will always stick out for me is going for the very first time in 2011 and building it up, like just basically treating it like this like holy ground almost. Getting there and being like, wow, this lived up to my expectations. Like, this was so cool. There's just such a great energy. It felt like, you know, obviously it's a bunch of it's just a giant ad in its own way, but it felt special to me.
Yes.
And having it live up to those expectations, those childhood dreams was awesome.
Back then, it wasn't just a giant ad. I mean, that's one of the things that, you know, I kind of miss with the last few years of E3 is that, you know, you don't get those things that, hey, we're working on this, but, you know, it might not come out. I mean, it's just this thing we're messing around with. You know, like, that's gone.
Right. Yeah. And it's not to say that, like, everything at E3 is an ad.
Right.
Well, I mean, it is in its own way, but it's just, what I'm saying is you'll have different E3 experiences. To add some nuance to this, you'll, like, go to one thing and, like, it does feel a little weird, and it's like, to take all this swag, do this fun thing. And that's fine. That, you know, that has its place. But then he'll have other appointments where it's like a dude is showing you this game on his laptop, and he's clearly just as excited to be at E3 as you are to show this passion project. And so you'll have a huge range of experiences at E3. But
you were talking about like seeking games out in magazines, and that made me think of like an underrated element of a game store back in the day.
Mm-hmm.
Just like going into a game store and being bombarded with all the games and just like reading the back covers.
Yeah.
Like that's how you're getting your info.
Yeah, it was...
You took me there, Ben.
It was definitely a time... Old man yelling at clouds time. It was definitely a time where you would have those moments, right? Where something, like, could just kind of surprise you in the moment. Like, a friend would show you something that you had never seen before. And that could still happen. But I remember just seeing Final Fantasy IX on the shelf and, like, not realizing that it came out. And being like, what? Yeah. And then going and grabbing it and picking it up and playing it and falling in love with it. There wasn't like that huge, like now where it's like, okay, tease 1, tease 2,
pre-order incentive.
Dev Diary. Yeah, it was. It sometimes felt a little bit more organic, I guess, is what I'm trying to say. But yeah, we have a lot to talk about on this show. We're going to talk about E3. We're going to talk about this pre-E3 that also feels like E3 week that's been happening. We're going to talk about that. But we're also going to talk about a bunch of different games. And Huber, you've been gone for a while, so I kind of want to open up with you. You brought, like, Blood usually brings games, or Kyle brings games like, oh man, I've never heard about that, or that's kind of an interesting curiosity. But you're bringing some smaller stuff.
Yes.
2 of which I don't think I've ever heard before. So let's just start off with this one. What is Aggelos?
Aggelos, dude. So this is an indie, like, Metroidvania,
Okay.
8-bit looking Switch game.
Okay.
16-bit? I get the bits confused. But it looks old school. It's like an
Sure.
old school Metroidvania.
I feel like 16-bit is much more common for a Metroidvania.
Okay, yeah.
So, but I don't know. I don't know the game.
Yeah. So the premise is really basic. You have to stop this like ancient evil. Not a lot of story going on.
What's the kind of time period or aesthetic?
Like fantasy.
Okay.
So just this medieval fantasy game. You're going through Metroidvania. You have to like save the kingdom from this dark force. I think his name is Aggelos. I haven't beat it yet.
Okay.
But you basically set out and you have to find these 4 elements, and each one is tied to a dungeon. So it's a pretty bite-sized game. I'd say the whole thing is probably like 8 hours or something.
Yeah.
You go through like little forests and you come across a dungeon and you go through the dungeon. It's got puzzles and a boss, and then you get the ring and set out for the next one. You go through like interconnected places. You're getting new items like Zelda style that can help you along the way, and new abilities. You get like a slash move where you can like jump higher, so it's kind of like a double jump.
Oh, cool.
So, yeah.
Okay, so it sounds like a solid Metroidvania.
Yes.
Which I enjoy.
Yeah.
But is a pretty common experience.
Totally.
Nowadays.
Yep.
So what is it about Aggelos that you think really makes it distinct or stand out?
It's got this really good old school feeling. It feels like I'm playing like an NES or a Super NES game.
Does that come from the difficulty or just the presentation?
Yeah, the presentation, but then it also combines those like modern elements that we love, the dopamine of like you kill some enemies, some gems pop out, you get enough, you level up, so you get a little stronger. There's like different weapons and armor you can get that make you stronger.
Do you have a kind of a favorite loadout, I guess, for your character?
Basically, it's everything's simplified, and that's also another reason I like it. It's just really straightforward, simple puzzles. The dungeons are pretty challenging, but even the progression, like you'll get just a slightly better sword that has better stats, or there's a little different things. Like one of the swords was really good underwater, so for like the underwater temple, you could use it, and it would like shoot out bubbles.
Can you kind of equip like multiple weapons at a time and swap between them, or is it like I have to go in a menu and I'm committing to this one weapon?
Committing to just like the basic sword.
Gotcha.
Really simplified stuff. But then there's like a down slash, and the rings are different abilities, so you can like shoot a fireball, or like use a bubble shield, and then forget the other ones right now. But there's some other rings.
So when you talk about puzzles, I assume that you're talking about the very typical Metroidvania environmental puzzles where it's like, I need this item to get through this area.
Yes.
Is it just that, or is it a room where it's like, no, I'm in this room solving a more traditional game puzzle, I suppose?
It's mostly traversal puzzles.
Gotcha.
So like finding a switch, pushing it, going back, finding the spot you need to jump over. You know, you see a door here, you got to go find the key, bring it back. So just straightforward stuff, but really good pace, really good soundtrack. Yeah, just a feel good game.
Let's say I'm somebody who's been really keeping up on Metroidvanias. I'm not that person, but let's just say that person comes to you and they're like, "Oh man, I love Metroidvanias. Been playing them a lot recently."
Yeah.
Do you think? Would you recommend this to a person? Is there enough in this that really makes it worth it?
Absolutely, because there have been a ton of phenomenal Metroidvania games lately. I think of Chasm, I think of Hollow Knight, I think of Guacamelee 2. Thinking about all these games, I would say if you're looking for something on Switch, bite-sized, old-school feel, easy to pick up and play, really good break spots, because the dungeon, right? You finish a dungeon, stop for a bit, and then I would definitely recommend it.
I love me some boss fights. Tell me about the boss fights. Are they pretty memorable?
There was one really awesome one, but sometimes it can get kind of annoying where like you don't really feel like you can avoid damage. Maybe I'm just not good enough, but it kind of feels like sometimes you got to just stand there and really tank it back and forth, you know?
Do you have like a roll or a guard that you're doing for defense? Yeah,
like if you pop the bubble shield on, the next hit you take will break it, but it'll be reduced damage.
Okay.
So really getting that going, knowing when to use your fireball.
Okay.
And to get that magic back, you just have to hit someone, So it's really cool where like you'll use the bubble shield, get in there, get some magic back by hitting them. So you can't just like stand in the corner shooting magic. You have to come up, land a couple hits,
Gotcha.
replenish.
Range filth not allowed.
So it's like hit and run tactics.
Yeah.
While also dodging things. There's some cool.
Or I guess
bosses.
you can't just rely on range
Yeah.
filth. Yeah.
I will say the bosses look really cool. Every time you see one, you're like,
Give me one.
There's like this giant Hackzilla looking one.
Okay.
So if you know the Dragon Quest monster,
Does it wield an axe?
I think it has like a sword maybe, but it has like smaller ones that are attacking you, and it like breathes this like big energy blast. It looks really cool.
Nice. Do you know how much this is?
It's like 15 or 20.
Hey.
Yeah.
Not too bad.
Yeah.
Not too bad. Blood.
Yeah.
What makes a Metroidvania above average, would you say?
Oh man.
It's a tough question.
It is a
fair.
tough question because it's like there definitely are those ones that stand out like Hollow Knight, but it's hard to like really pinpoint like what it is that makes it stand out from the rest necessarily, like other than it's just like, well, it's really well done, it's like
I think the world is something.
world is I think is huge. Yeah.
And like this has cool towns. I didn't mention that. There's towns in this. You have people running around. And you can just talk to them. There's shops and things you can spend your money on, and even like some hidden puzzles where like you'll collect items and then give the items to people, and that'll trigger stuff. So it's like such a small, simple game, but there's like a lot in there to dig into.
I think probably for me, like one of the main things that kind of comes up is, and it's one of the reasons like these elements work so well in the From Software games too, is when you are just so focused on exploring and moving forward, and then like somehow like you find your way back somewhere familiar, and like just that moment of like, oh, I've gone from being completely lost, completely like confused as to where I am to where like, okay, we're here, got it. Okay, and now like this leads to that, and then you just start seeing how the things connect to each other.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Love that. Good feeling.
Yeah. I love if I can look back on a Metroidvania and recall like the areas very distinctly, like, oh man, this area demanded either from a combat or exploration perspective challenged me in a completely different way than this other area, which was completely different than this other area, but they all fit together and they all were connected in a meaningful way. Like I think Hollow Knight does a really good job of that, for example. That is always really cool. And you want good secrets. You want that moment where like, oh man, I can't believe that's here. Yeah. For sure. Cool. Aggelos sounds like a solid time.
Solid game.
Solid. That's kind of what I'm walking away with it from. Blood. You've also been checking out some cool stuff. One of those things that you've been checking out that's been getting some buzz, but I'm pretty unfamiliar with is Outer Wilds. Tell me about Outer Wilds.
Bloodworth, dude. I want to hear about this.
Yeah. So I haven't got too far into it, but I played it twice for previews. I played it at E3 and I played it a couple months ago with Ian. And both times it was just kind of like, all right, I've just got to like jump into this and do what I can in this limited time frame. And then the second time in particular, it was like, all right, I'm just going to rush. I'm going to get into the ship and then go. And this like last night today, like I was like, all right, let me just settle in now. Let me just settle in and take it slow and really get into the vibes of this world. And it's got pretty cool vibes. And so the basic idea is it's like space exploration, but it's the characters. It's kind of rustic. Like your little spaceship is kind of made out of like wood and like things kind of just stuck together. Like it feels like it's made out of duct tape and it's gonna fall apart really easily.
I love the word rustic.
Yeah.
And even when you're walking around this town, like there's like these big redwood trees and this little town to get like familiar with, and kind of there's like even like a toy spaceship to start getting comfortable with some of the controls, and like kind of like guitars or banjos or something playing as you explore. But then as you go into the observatory to get the launch codes for your ship, then they've just like pulled this artifact, the statue from somewhere of like this lost like alien race that they're trying to study that have left all these other clues and stuff behind. When you walk out, the statue like looks at you and its eyes open, and then you just like see visions of everything that's happened up until that point, and that initiates this time loop. And that's kind of how they deal with death, is so like anytime that you die, you kind of start back at the same like campfire where you started next to the launch pad, but everything, like all the clues and stuff that you found are still in like your computer log. So like you're exploring the solar system and then piece by piece like putting together these clues, and like one thing will lead to something unexpected. And so when I played the preview builds, like I immediately just like started flying off to some other planet.
Yeah.
Whereas like, all right, I know this planet has more than this town. So this time I like, all right, let me fly over and see like what's in the next crater. And in there's some guy that's found some like weird seed, and like I launch a probe like into this hole in the seed, and then all of a sudden it's like showing up like somewhere freaking else. And like, okay, like, and then it gets into this like Doctor Who style planet where you're like, you go into holes and like you're suddenly in this other like huger space, and there's this giant like anglerfish trying to eat you and stuff.
Sounds amazing.
Yeah, it sounds a little scary.
Well, yeah, I mean, the thing is the time loop and the vibe of it kind of makes it not that scary. It is a little crazy in terms of controls and stuff, because it's very like kind of simulation based. This whole like in terms of momentum and like approaching planets and things like that. It's like really easy to like totally misjudge a landing and like smash part of your ship or something.
Do you have to worry about like food or oxygen?
Oxygen, yes.
Okay.
Fuel, yes.
How annoying is that?
So far, it's not that bad. A lot of it just where things get a little weird and annoying is just like in terms of movement, because it's more simulation based. Like you don't really like always know what to expect, and so one of the things, again, just because, like I said, like settling in, let me just do whatever catches my eye. And so I noticed that anytime that like I would start the loop over, I would see like this planet like right over my head, and like something like smashing into it and breaking apart, and then like this blue thing fly out of it. And I'm like, what the heck is going on? So I like immediately just jump into the ship and start chasing down that blue thing.
Yeah.
And then I finally like catch up to it, and I like had to like dismiss a bunch of prompts saying, "Hey, you're leaving the solar system. Like, I don't care. I'm going for the blue thing. It's fine.
Leave me alone."
I finally catch up to it, and I'm like flying around and like trying to get some sense of like what is this. And ultimately, like I didn't like if there's a clue there, like maybe it's something for later, but like I didn't find anything significant. I was like, okay. And then like, all right, I'll get back in my ship and I'll go back. And then what I didn't realize, because like kind of when you approach planets or objects or something, like you essentially like match the speed of your ship so that like it feels like you're just flying around this thing, but the thing is still moving however fast it's moving. You're just matching it, so relatively it feels like it's stationary. So what I didn't realize is the whole time I'm go out and exploring and looking at this thing, I've been moving like thousands of miles away from the solar system. And I'm like, where is the sun? And I look at my map and it's like way over there. And I'm like, okay, I just start going that way. And I still don't see anything, just like a long distance of flying back towards the solar system. And then what I don't realize is that I've just been accelerating this whole time. Mm-hmm. So once I get back to where I can see the sun, then I can't decelerate fast enough, and I just blow right past it again.
So that kind of leads into a question that I have: is you're trying to piece together these clues, mm-hmm. and it sounds like you have this huge area to explore. When you die and you like go back in the loop, is it frustrating being like, oh man, I want to go back to like? Is it hard getting back to where you want to be, or is that not really an issue because you can just go somewhere else?
I think kind of both. Like there have been a lot of times where like, okay, well I'm with the one with the where's like the seeds with like in a seed whatever.
Yeah.
Like I went back there a couple of times, but there's a lot of things with the way the loop works that you kind of like it saves what you need, and the rest of the stuff it doesn't matter. So it's like, okay, I've seen this and I've gotten these clues over here.
Gotcha.
And like I've done everything I need to do over here. And the first thing with that was it kind of threw me off is you have to, I think you have to launch the ship first before it like even saves any kind of progress. So, and I had spent a lot of time like walking around town talking to people last night, and I was done, and then I was like, and then I came back to it and it was like, new game. Wait, it didn't save anything? And then I realized that like I didn't do anything worth saving. And so all I had to do is go back to the observatory, get the launch codes, and all right, and then keep moving on with the game.
But since it's not saving until you take off with the ship, have you ever had a moment where you did get a clue or something, and then you quit out or something, and it didn't save?
Well, I think after that first loop, then like it basically just like it sets the loop back when you exit. So I just exited too soon, like moments too soon.
Gotcha.
But yeah, so it's really interesting how like little things will lead, and then, like you've got like a translator, you've got this. It's essentially a microphone. And so that's been really interesting because like you point at the sky and there's like other astronauts out there. And so like you start pointing around and then you hear like somebody like playing a harmonica and like, oh, okay, so there's a guy over there. and trying to, and I think it's actually harder to find how to get to places that are actually within the planets. There's like a lot of caves and stuff even on the first world that I was like trying to like, okay, where does this lead and where does that lead?
And you said you had a translator, right? And so,
yeah, so there's like these scripts on the wall from the ancient language.
But when you're running into like other creatures, how substantial are those conversations? And are there a lot of things that you're running into, or is it mostly
I haven't run into
isolated?
like any other creatures other than the astronauts that are like from our own original village.
I see.
So
Okay.
No combat or anything?
no, I don't think that there's any kind of combat for sure.
Cruising through the galaxy.
But there's like tornado, like that's crazy thing too. Like I landed on this planet, like, and I was like stuck in this ocean. And I was trying to figure out because I think what had happened is I think my ship had gotten damaged.
Yeah.
And I didn't repair it in time, and so like all my fuel just like spurted out the tank.
Whoa.
And so it's like I went to fix it, but then like, oh, it's not lifting off or anything. And then this tornado just comes by and like shoots both of us up off the surface of the planet back into space. And I'm like, oh crap.
It seems like all you really need in this game is just, you don't really need a strong direction. Like you can just kind of go off and explore, and you come back with these stories like
Right.
you have. But when you begin the game, do you have a strong purpose? Like, do you know why you're exploring, or does that only start to come into focus once you get a few of the clues?
They kind of lead you by asking you the question of what you want to do. So like, there's a guy in the observatory who's like, what do you, like, why do you want to explore, kind of thing? And you can say, he's like, well, I want to find out more about the alien race. So I was like, I just want to go and like, meet the other astronauts on their worlds or whatever. And then through one of those like kind of prompts, then you're going to end up, getting one of the breadcrumbs that's going to lead to something else. And do
you know how substantially that question kind of changes how you experience the game?
I think it's just a matter of like order, it's just sort of like, again, it's just like setting a direction, because I could have, like I said, like I was first planning to let me just explore this first world first, because I've already played in previews and I've already seen a little bit of other worlds. Let me see what's more of what's here. And that immediately, sent me off somewhere else, because what the heck is happening right now?
Yeah.
And along with your map, there's what they basically call like a rumor log. And so it's like these little bits of information, the bits of information that you collect, and then like kind of like a flow chart as to like how they lead to the next thing. So like you'll get like a thing that's tagged, and then you'll get sort of the flow chart to the next thing, and it might have a question mark until you go to the next thing and actually like explore that and discover what that is.
Gotcha. So the way that these things are connected in the flowchart, can you like highlight those and be like, oh, that's in this direction, and then go chase after it? Okay, cool. When you're getting these clues, when you're trying to piece together this larger mystery, how substantial is each clue? Like, does it kind of take a while for this thing to come into focus, or is each clue like pretty substantial and intriguing in its own right? If that makes sense.
I think so far the things have been intriguing on their own. I haven't gotten to like what the overall picture is yet, since I've only played for like 2 or 3 hours and like been intentionally going slow.
Yeah.
But there's one thing that I thought, there's kind of a mystery they set up really quickly in the observatory in the town, and like I just like came across the answer to that like right away. It's like, oh, like that's what that is. That's where it is. I've solved the problem, everybody. So, but again, it's just because of I went that direction rather than some other direction, and it just happened upon it.
Cool. Do you think there's any fear of, like, I just think of No Man's Sky and like how, like, kind of chasing after the ultimate goal of like getting to the center ended up not being that satisfying. Is that something that you're worried about with Outer Wilds, where maybe this larger mystery isn't as intriguing as it seems, or is kind of the journey enough that doesn't really matter?
Yeah, I think that, again, so far, like it feels like it's these smaller discoveries and these weird things. Like there's this one, the last place I went, it's like they call them like the Hourglass Twins or something like that.
Yeah. So
these 2 planets that are like stuck next to each other, and there's sand that flows from one to the next and back and forth. And so I was exploring, and there's big canyons and stuff, and then after a while I realized that like the sand in the canyon was like rising like higher and higher. And so it was like it's limiting to like what I can explore at any given time.
Mm-hmm.
And
how quickly was it shifting from one place to the next?
It wasn't super quickly, but it was like quickly enough that you could notice
Gotcha.
it. Like you could see it moving upwards. And so I came across like a crashed spaceship or something, and like, okay, let me go into this ship. And I didn't realize like the sand was also like filling up the ship. And so I like immediately just got crushed by the sand, and there's like this cracking, squishy noise.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, no.
So cool.
So you said it was like limiting what you could explore. I would love to just be like, okay, I'm going to wait until the sand goes down and like, oh man, there's a new cave that I couldn't get to. Did you have a moment like that in terms of the exploration? Like what did you uncover beyond just getting your ship crushed?
Well, at that point I wasn't in the ship, because that's the thing, you like actually like put on a spacesuit and like explore that way too.
Yeah.
But yeah, so like there have been, again, like I was like running around underground rivers with geysers, and like geysers would like shoot you up to the surface, and like you'd like be flying up above and like, okay, where am I at now? And then you fall back down into the geyser, back underground, underwater.
When you're in the spacesuit, how quickly can you move?
Pretty much the same. I mean, it depends on. That's another weird thing, is it sort of depends on the gravity. So again, things are more simulated. Like they even show, like in the observatory, there's like this. There's like a box full of metal balls, and if you watch it, you can see the balls start to shift from side to side as the moon goes over. So again, like a lot of just crazy, like simulation, momentum, gravity-based stuff.
Hardcore game.
It sounds really intriguing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's like very.
He's selling me hard.
Yeah, it's like,
but like
cartoony characters.
Endless games like this give me the heebie-jeebies.
I don't think it's endless. I think there's like a very story-focused thing. It's just a matter of like going to all these different little spots, because the solar system's really not that big in terms of like I can get from the where you start to the far reaches of it in like a couple minutes.
Yeah.
But it's exploring all the nooks and crannies that takes more time.
Cool.
You're selling me, blood.
Yeah, it's.
Is this on
like,
PC? PC only?
I don't think so.
I don't think it's PC only.
Yeah, because I played on Xbox last year, so it should be on Xbox too.
Cool.
It's probably PlayStation.
It seems like something that would be really good in VR as well.
Maybe. I don't know.
Blood's not buying it.
Blood's not buying it.
He's not buying it for a second.
I think you could get some motion sickness off of that.
Sure. I have a game that I'm really excited to talk about that I've put about 27 hours into. I'm in the third of 5 dungeons, and it's pretty awesome. Persona Q2.
Ooh, yep.
So what this is made by the Etrian Odyssey team, and it's a Persona spinoff. And one of the big appeals of it is in Persona Q1 they took the Persona 3 characters and mashed them together with Persona 4 characters. Here, you're mingling with Persona 3 characters, Persona 4 characters, and Persona 5 characters, starting with Persona 5, and then you get the Persona 4 crew, and then you get the Persona 3 crew. And I'm in the third dungeon. It actually takes a while. I just kind of got the bulk of the Persona 3 crew on my side. But what is really impressive about this game is, first of all, the theming. So you're kind of in this weird otherworldly movie theater. The whole setting for it is you're in this movie theater and you're going into these movies, and each movie has a different theme. So the first
This sounds
movie,
amazing.
Yes, the first movie, if you remember Kamoshida, the abusive
Yes.
PE teacher from Persona 5,
Yep.
the movie name is Kamoshidaman, where he is this superhero.
Oh my god.
And like everybody's like afraid to criticize him.
Yeah.
And so he's kind of like he's pretending he's so heroic and just, but he's really not. And so you're kind of going and exposing him, but it has this superhero backdrop. And it kind of, so like Etrian Odyssey, you're going and you're mapping out the different floors of the dungeon, and that's really satisfying.
Is it first person when you're in the dungeon?
It is. It's first person when you're in the dungeons, and it's like kind of first person in combat, but then when you do an attack, like if you do a physical attack, you'll see a little 3D character model come in and attack, and the characters have this wonderful chibi style, and so it's fun seeing them like this.
Can you be Date? Is it Date? Not Date. Who's Persona 4? The cop.
Dojima?
Can you be Dojima?
No. So it's not focusing on the, I mean, I guess Kamoshida, yes. It's primarily focusing on the main cast.
Got it.
So like the investigation team in Persona 4, and the Phantom Thieves in Persona 5. It's primarily focusing on them.
Cool.
And what it is like, oh man, how did we get here? Oh, you guys are here too. Let's join together and let's try to solve this mystery.
Nice.
But what I really like, it's hard to imagine you getting, I think you can, if you've never played Persona, I think you can play this and get enjoyment out of this, but it's definitely, the way that it references things and the way it calls back themes from the other games, I think you'll definitely get a lot more out of it if you're already familiar, at least with Persona 5. But the story is interesting. I'm a lot more attached to the story than I thought. I get worried with mashups like this, where it's just solely reliant on the novelty of these characters interacting.
It always feels like a filler arc.
Yeah, and there's more to it than that. It's kind of taking these insecurities that these characters have that you would already explore in like Persona 4 or Persona 5, and like these other characters are kind of examining that insecurity in a new light. Maybe not as impactful as like the mainline Persona stories themselves, but a lot more substance than I was expecting. It's pretty interesting, and what I really like is you eventually unlock these side quests, and the side quests are great because you end up having like you're combining these characters from 3 different games, right? And I was worried that it was like, oh man, not everybody's going to get enough time to shine. And they kind of solve this in 2 different ways. One is they don't mash all of them together right away. That you kind of slowly are expanding your crew, which I think is really smart. But in these side quests, it's like, okay, we're going to focus on like Yusuke and like Chie here. And they're going to have their own story. Like one that I really like is Yusuke is this artist, right, in Persona 5, and Yukiko is kind of more of a reserved character, and she wants to kind of like let her soul out through art, and Yusuke helps her.
Sick.
And they kind of have this comical and endearing, like, hey, we kind of have this awakening through art, and it's cool that we get to share this passion together.
Dude, that
and
sounds
so
good.
yeah, you have these these side quests that really hone in on these characters, and it's like you don't have to do them, but if you want to spend more time, or if you want to see your favorite characters. Like, if you want to see Ryuji interact with Kanji in their special... If you want to see them butt heads in a side quest, you can have that
I was going to
happen.
ask about that.
Yeah.
Dude, do they get, like, ramen together?
No, Ryuji and Kanji in the side quest that I did with them, they're just both being kind of stubborn and hot-headed, and eventually they have to, like, kind of come together and resolve that and find common ground, and so that's really cool.
Awesome.
But yeah.
Like, Sojiro and... You just told me his name.
Dojima. Yeah, and
Sojiro and Dojima.
I haven't finished the game, so I can't say. Well, but
I keep getting Dojima and Date mixed up. I'm getting my cops mixed up.
Yeah. The one thing, and Persona proper is guilty of this as well, that I think is kind of annoying, is that they'll like, you'll be like, okay, this is the message of this quest or of this area, and like, they'll definitely drone on about the message a little bit too much. It's definitely like, you could have made this a little bit shorter, this dialogue a little bit shorter for sure. But talking about the combat, so it carries over a lot from Persona 5. If you like hit an enemy's weak point, you'll get a boost, and here, if you get a boost, like attacks that would cost HP don't, and attacks that would cost SP don't. And that is extremely helpful because you can burn through SP really quickly. But if you get a boost, you can later, eventually you can baton pass and give the boost to another ally if you think that's more valuable.
Got to replenish that SP.
Yeah. And another thing that I really like about the side quests is eventually you unlock these unison attacks. And so you'll get like Chie and An, they'll have a unison attack. But to get others for other characters, like if you want to have Joker and you do a unison attack, you have to do the side quest for them, and then you'll get that power. And again, so something that's not essential, but you really feel rewarded both from a story perspective and from a cool, flashy mechanics perspective for doing that side
Is there
quest.
all-out attack?
Yes, there's all attack. So if you let's say you're fighting 5 enemies, if you get the weak point for all of them and they're all down, you can do an all-out attack. Yep, that's back.
Does Chie and Ryuji have any sick banter together?
Not really them specifically, but Chie has just a lot of great banter in general. Like talks a lot about meat, as you would expect. But yeah, just great banter all around, and. Yeah, just as a fan of these games and of these characters, it's been really enjoyable going through it. It's a pretty slow game, and so it's kind of taken a while. And the bosses, much like Etrian Odyssey, the bosses can be extremely difficult. They're cool. They're very cool mechanically. And like there'll be multi-phased battles. The first one, it's like, okay, this guy is wielding 2 different things that have different effects, and so before I take him on, I've got to take out these things. Or in the second major boss fight, it's like, oh, I have ads that are buffing and debuffing and doing their own attacks, so I have to take care of those ads. So very cool mechanically, but definitely challenging for sure. And like I'm playing on the normal difficulty and being like, okay, I need to regroup. I need to grind a little bit, get some levels. I need to buff up my personas.
There's like very easy and easy. I'm sure you can put it on 2 or...
Yeah, there are. There at the beginning, there's like very easy and easy. I picked
Perfect.
normal, and then I think there's 2 difficulties above that as well.
Good.
So, but yeah, having a good time.
Awesome.
It feels like a worthwhile spin-off for sure. But yeah,
Sounds good.
Enjoying my time with that. Yeah,
Just love all those characters so much. Every time I think about replaying Persona 5, it's just so I can hang out with those characters.
Yeah,
so.
And kind of what I said before, it's like you love those characters because you grow attached to them in the main game and you feel like there's some character development there. And what I like is I think it would be really easy when you're combining characters from 3 different games to just be completely shallow and be like, okay, they're going to say the things that you expect, and they're going to have kind of the yay moments, and it's going to be very shallow. And I feel like Persona Q2 is at least attempting to go a little bit deeper than that. And being like, okay, no, these guys still have some room to grow. Which I really like. Nice. So,
I never played 3. Is that a big detriment? Finish 4 and 5.
I think if you are at least attached to like one cast, you're okay. And like I said, like you don't get the Persona 3 crew until like a pretty good chunk into the game. So the Persona 5 crew is definitely taking the spotlight. But yeah, the more familiar you are, the better. But no, I think you're all right.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool.
Going back to Bloodworth, you've been kind of playing like an assortment of PlayStation VR games.
Yeah. I hopped in because it started with when I did the Falcon Age review, so I had to like borrow the PlayStation VR from the office. And before that,
is that thing still lying around?
It's here.
Yes, playing Blood and Truth tonight. Yes. Sorry.
But
got me so hyped.
But yeah, so I hadn't really spent that much time with it before because before I moved, like the place I was at before, I just didn't have space for it. And so it's like, I actually have room to use this thing now, so let me, try it out. And so I kind of spent a little time getting through a variety of different games. There's still some more that I haven't gotten to yet. That's actually kind of a funny thing. It's like I was trying to lead up to playing Jupiter and Mars, and I never actually got to play Jupiter and Mars before Brandon needed it back for Blood and Truth. But I played. It was like a collection of demos that had like Super Hot in there. So like I didn't get to play a lot of Super Hot VR, but I could at least experience and feel like what it's like. I really want to
play Super Hot VR.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. And then I went back and played through the whole journey mode of Tetris Effect.
Yeah.
And just like did that all over again. And that was really great.
Cool.
And
Resident
Evil 7?
No, because I have Resident Evil 7 on Xbox. So I'd have to buy Resident Evil 7 again.
Blood, I will buy it for you.
I think I have a digital copy of RE7. I don't think I bought it physical. I was like, yeah, you could totally borrow it. But then it's like, no. Doesn't work that way.
And then there's something else I think might have been in there, but as well. But the two main ones that like I bought were Moss and Astro Bot, which are kind of similar in the way that they're set up.
Astro Bot.
Yes.
Yeah, and you platinumed Astro Bot.
I platinumed Astro Bot. Nice. One of my very few platinums.
Nice.
Maniac.
Just a good question because I'm always curious. Like I kind of know where Kyle stands and where Damiani stands, but does VR make you sick at all? Is that a concern?
It hasn't so far. There have been a couple of times where like taking it off, like it's like whoa kind of moment of just like readjusting. Mm-hmm. But I've been okay. But also most of the stuff I've played is stuff that you play sitting down anyway. So I think that helps.
But when you play, like for me, especially if I haven't done VR in a while, I'll play like 30 minutes or I feel like an hour, just some fairly small amount of time, and then I'm like, I need to take a break.
Yeah,
Can you play for long periods of time? Because some people can
it's
just
an hour, maybe 2 at the max.
Gotcha.
If I'm like really into like what I was doing in Astro Bot, I could get into 2 hours. But yeah, I definitely feel like fatigue from it, not sickness, but just like my eyes and my neck and everything just needs a break right now, because you do use your neck a lot. That ways that you're just not thinking of, just looking around at things.
Swiveling around like a bobblehead.
Yeah.
Even without even taking into account stuff like Astro Bot has you do, where you like smack things.
Yeah, you're like in Astro Bot, you're like looking completely behind you, standing up, looking down. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, you kind of have a lot to talk about here. You've kind of jumped into a bunch of different games. Did you have a favorite? I bet I know what this is.
I mean, it is Astro Bot.
Yeah.
Like Moss was very high on my list as well. Mm-hmm. I just thought it was very cool the way everything is kind of handled to where you're not worried at all about camera movement really, towards like you come in from one side of the screen and you do all your stuff and then you go to the other side. So it's pretty much locks you down so that you don't have to worry too much about movement. But there's just something about the way, particularly I feel with Moss, the way that it looks with VR and 3D, to where even though these are very cartoony looking things, it really has that sense of being like a real object in front of you. And the other thing with Moss that really, actually both games, that really makes that work as well is that the characters will look at you. And so you have this kind of like eye contact kind of connection with them, and there'll be like high fives and little things like that. And it really makes it work in a really cool way.
Did you, I guess, I haven't played Moss, but did you ever have, because sometimes with VR, what can be frustrating is like constantly needing to recenter, or it just doesn't feel calibrated quite right. Was it a pretty smooth experience just hardware-wise with you the entire time?
Yeah, I didn't have any like major issues with that in any way. I mean, I think there may be times here or there that you hold the button to recenter, but most of the time it was fine. It's more of like that initial setup, especially since I have classes. Like, all right, is it in kind of the right spot? And what's funny is because like sometimes the PlayStation VR will show you like the camera feed of like looking at yourself.
Yeah.
And then I'll see like, all right, well it looks like it's tilted on my face, but it feels straight. So I don't know. I'll just leave it.
Yeah. How long is Moss?
It's not that long. I want to say it's like 4 or 5 hours. And it also feels like I think that they're still adding DLC to it or whatever.
Interesting.
It also felt like it ended in a weird place to where it was like we're done now. Okay, I guess we're done. It just sort of felt like we weren't. It didn't feel like we were done with like what the story was kind of leading you towards. But there was a big boss fight and everything. So.
And in Moss, you're guiding the mouse around and being like, "Hey, go here, attack this," right?
Yeah.
That kind of sort of system where it's not like you are controlling this character, but you're controlling somebody who is helping this character.
Right. I'm trying to remember like what the actual. Oh yeah, Moss has a really like almost like a never-ending story kind of set up to where it's like you're the reader.
Oh sure.
So like you're actually
never-ending story.
Between chapters, like you're looking at a book. You're like in this big like cathedral, and that's actually pretty cool too because you can like look around the cathedral and you grab pages and turn the pages, and then like when then you get back into it, but yeah, you're just kind of like this like otherworldly presence in its world that I'm guessing like most other characters just can't really see.
Sure. So despite only playing VR, playing it for like an hour or two max, you said you did platinum Astro Bot. How quickly did that happen? Was it just kind of an obsession? Was it something that you were kind of picking at over a long period of time? What was that like?
It didn't take that much more to do after like I finished the main game. I'd say maybe the longest part, because if you get all of the bots and it's chameleons. So you're trying to get all of the astrobots that are in a level, and there's also like these hidden chameleons that are, basically they're in a weird corner and they're like invisible.
You gotta look at them.
If you look at them long enough, then they'll pop out and then they open these extra mini games. And I think that was the longest thing, was just like getting through all of the extra stages. So a lot of them were kind of like speed runs. But otherwise, I actually I got to this point where I needed a bunch of coins. And I'm like, oh man, this is gonna take forever. But I just really had to like replay like 3 or 4 levels, and that was it. I was fine.
Nice.
So one of the best parts of Astro Bot is how different all the levels are and how different all the worlds are. Did you have like one or several that especially stood out? Because man, there are so many Astro Bot moments where I was like, whoa, cool! I can't believe they did that. Are there any that are coming to mind for you?
For me, since I grew up in Florida, I had this weird sense of presence anytime that we're on a beach. Yeah. Like there's sand and like there's a water flowing out there, and I'm like, I could just stop here. I just hang out for a while. It's like I just feel like I'm at the beach right now. Yeah.
VR, the sensation of VR reminding you of home.
Yeah. Huh. And then the boss fights were just that shark was amazing.
Yeah. Okay, Blood, this might be a completely ignorant question, as not related to Astro Bot, it's related to Florida. The only time I went to Florida is when I went to Disney World in 6th grade. How common are alligators in Florida?
Oh yeah, they're everywhere. I had a pond in the backyard
And
with
there were-
alligators in it. Yeah, when I was a teenager.
You grew up with alligators.
Mm-hmm.
Did you ever?
Cool.
Did they ever? Was it ever dangerous?
No, I mean, because it's the thing is like you since you grew up with them, like you're educated, and so
Yeah.
like alligators, for one, they're comparatively tame and afraid of people, and so unless somebody's feeding them,
Yeah,
they want to get away from you.
sure.
So anytime you'd get near, they would just duck under the water and go away. And yeah, it's crocodiles that are like the polar opposite.
I see. So they're aggressive.
Yeah, crocodiles is like, oh, there's a lion, I'll take that. You know, it's like.
Did you ever see another creature or a human being get attacked by a crocodile?
No, I mean, because crocodiles are pretty
Pause
rare
there for a
in
second.
Florida.
Yeah, you had to think about it. I was like, what violent animal acts have I seen? Yeah.
Yeah, crocodiles are pretty rare. In
I see.
like they're like mostly like down in like the depths of the Everglades and stuff. So.
Blood, the reason why I asked that question is I was just at a zoo
Sure.
this week. And they had, like, right when you go, it was the Los Angeles Zoo, and, like, right when you go in, they have alligators up front. And it had been a long time since I looked at an alligator, especially, like, one that close in real life. And I was like, this is just a little fucking Godzilla with just so many. This thing is terrifying. This is a little kaiju, like, right here. And it freaked me out a little bit. And so, yeah, I just wanted to know your own personal experience.
Yeah,
But
my aunt, she lives on kind of like a waterway, and there's a bunch of them back there, and so they'll go into their backyard, and there'll be one sunning itself back there on the dock by their boat. And yeah,
man, crazy.
Jolly.
Coming back around to Huber, you checked out Oxenfree, and I think this is something you've wanted to check out for a while,
Yes.
yeah? And you finally got around to it.
Finally.
Tell me about Oxenfree.
Oxenfree. Good video game.
Yeah.
It's from so the creators of it were originally part of Telltale, and then they left and made their own studio and
Okay.
made Oxenfree. And their next game is coming out, actually. It's called After Party.
yeah. Talked to Brandon about that.
Cool.
He saw it for the Judges Week.
Nice, yeah.
So what is Oxenfree about?
So Oxenfree is like you're this group of kids graduating high school, and you go to this island where something went down years before, some like tragedy,
Okay.
and yeah, it's mostly just like exploring this island and exploring.
And
these
they don't
characters.
tell you what the tragedy is up front, just like something happened.
Yeah, it's told very organically. Like you have to kind of piece everything together as your characters kind of deliver the plot through conversation.
Okay. So you say, like, coming from Telltale,
Yeah.
does that mean you're making a lot of dialogue choices?
Yes, you play as one character, but pretty much constantly, dialogue options are coming up between 3 responses, and then you pick one of the responses. There's multiple endings to the game. I only
Okay.
played it once through, but yeah, there's like points where things can deviate. So the only reason I really knew about the game was just because I had been going through all those Telltale games, in the
Yeah.
last few years. And then every time I used to Google like Life is Strange, just like
It would always come up.
yeah, it would
Oh,
always
cool.
come up. So it's kind of in that Life is Strange, Telltale category of games.
Do you? I know you only played it once, so you didn't get to see like other choices or other endings. But did you feel even in that first playthrough that your choices had a pretty significant effect? Was it convincing? Like, oh man, like because I chose that, I feel like this character is acting in a completely different way.
Yes. There was like one big change with my game because I didn't get along with one of the characters, and it
Like-
made me feel really bad. But like I didn't. Like it wasn't clear like the opportunities kind of to like grow that relationship with this character. So it kind of just played out like, oh, I guess we're not friends. So I was like, damn it. So I
you wanted to be friends with that.
Yeah.
You want to be friends with everybody.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I didn't get like the best ending, but I definitely didn't get the worst ending. I got like middle of the road.
How likable is the cast?
One of the kids was super annoying, but I think he's kind of supposed to play like that.
Intentionally annoying.
Yeah. And then the main character is really good. Main character's family is really good, and then her like long friend is really really good. This one guy.
Yeah.
And then this other girl who you don't really know. You kind of like meet her on the island or whatever, and she's really cool. So good characters.
What makes the kid annoying?
He's like super needy. He like you keep doing him favors, and he's just like kind of ungrateful, and he's just like causing problems, kind of like making fun of the other kid.
Little brat.
Yeah, it's kind of annoying.
So in a game like this, did you feel like you were more in it to kind of like see where the story was going and the twists and turns?
100%.
Was it more about getting to know the characters? Was it more about the choice? Like, what was kind of the hook?
Yeah. Just my favorite thing in video games, if I'm not, scrounging for shotgun ammo, shooting zombies, is just experiencing other people's stories. And that's really what this game is. It is a slice of life for this group of kids for this little bit of time. And the main character is just really likable and has kind of like a tragic story. And yeah, just wanted to see the story through. There's like a supernatural element going on. Gets kind of creepy at some points. Won't give anything away, but it's definitely psychological.
Cool.
Kind of a thriller.
You are a big Telltale fan and have been for a long time. And you also adore Life is Strange, just something that you champion really hard. Just quality-wise, how does this compare to kind of those areas? I know with Telltale it's a little bit harder because it's such a wide array of stuff, but like the best Telltale, the ones that really hit you, I guess.
Not the best, not the worst.
Okay.
So middle of the road. I played it pretty late, so I'm wondering maybe right when it came out, maybe would have thought better. But like now that I'm going through like Life is Strange Before the Storm and Life is Strange 2 just continue to raise that bar, and even the recent Batman Telltale series and the Walking Dead final season, like the last few years have been really good for the genre.
Yeah.
So, when this came out kind of before a lot of that. So kind of going back, I saw kind of it aging, but it got me really hyped for After Party.
That was going to be my next question. It's like you liked this enough that you're very excited for whatever next step that they take. Cool.
Yeah.
Nice.
And it's really short, like not any hard puzzles. So pretty easy to get through.
Nice.
Yeah.
How long total, just for a single playthrough?
Like 4 to 5.
Cool.
Yeah.
Very chill. I did the network test for a game that I can't believe isn't out yet, and that game is Code Vein.
Code Vein.
Boy.
And
Hearing some mixed things here, Ben. But like the mixed things I'm feeling, some people are into it.
They try to make it not look like anime somehow. Remember that quote?
It looks very anime to me.
Yeah,
Exactly.
like that's not even like comprehensible. It's
Right.
It is hyper anime. So my feelings on Code Vein are really
This is a Crunchyroll
frustrating.
exclusive.
Yeah, my feelings on Code Vein are like really frustrating. This game, no matter how you slice it, super rough.
Yeah.
Just like frustratingly rough.
Damn.
And I mean that in a very basic sense. So this is a Souls-like game, very intentionally so.
Souls like anime.
And your attacks just have no weight to them.
Oh, I'm out.
And I think that is
I'm
just
out.
I think that's something that's very important. But it's something I noticed right away. Like regardless of the weapon that I was using, it just things weren't satisfying to connect with, and that's a problem.
Yeah, that's the game.
Yeah, and the environments as well, extremely bland. It's set in kind of this post-apocalyptic setting, and so you expect a lot of ruin, but I think you can make that setting interesting, but it's just a lot of very bland caves and corridors. It's just like there's not really a strong flair to it, and I think that kind of carries over to the enemy design, just kind of nondescript, generic enemies that feel very throwaway for the most part. And so that's really frustrating. But despite all of that, I want to play more. Despite thinking it's very rough and like kind of bad in a lot of spots, I want to play more. And that's not like saying like, oh, hey, man, go out and improve this game, go play this game. It's not a recommendation, but I do like some of the ideas that it's doing.
Okay, like let me stop you really quick because
Yeah, go
Let
ahead.
It Die was rough, but in a good way. Do you kind of let it die production values here, or rougher than that?
Rougher than that.
Okay.
In a lot of ways.
Okay.
But these ideas are things that I feel like I need more than a network test to fully evaluate, and I think that's a good thing. So one of the big things in Code Vein is you acquire a bunch of different classes, okay? And like you get, just at least if the network test is any indication, like you get a lot of them, and they all have different specializations. So you get like a basic fighter, you get like a berserker, you get spellcasting classes. And when you go to kind of like your bonfire equivalent, or maybe you can do it at any time. Maybe you can do it, I'm actually not sure at that. I'm not sure if you can only do it at the bonfire equivalent or at any time. I should know this, I'm blanking on that. But you can switch them. And so that's really fun because different classes will change your kind of combat focus, and it will give you different abilities called gifts. And so you'll want to mess with these.
Remember that word, yeah.
Yeah, you'll want to mess with these different classes to see different abilities. And I just love the idea of being like, oh, I'm at a boss fight. Not only, like, of course you have different weapons that you can equip, but let me try a different class and different gifts, and let me just mix and match. And so I like that idea of being like, we're going to give you a bunch of these things, just keep trying them, see what clicks, try different things in different situations. I love that idea. The other thing that makes Code Vein unique is you'll get different AI companions that are following you along, and they do talk too much. They kind of have the Dragon's Dogma pawn problem of where it's like, okay, you don't need to say that. You don't need to comment on that enemy, or you don't need to comment on like how I'm doing. Like it does get a little bit annoying, and it feels very artificial. But they are somewhat effective in combat. Like and maybe it was just because what I was fighting like wasn't all that tough, but early on, at least in the network test, it was like, oh, okay, like they're going and they're handling this, or oh, okay, they're being some assistance in battle, and I want to see like how far that goes. My interaction with them, I definitely saw videos of people like fighting much harder bosses and them being completely worthless.
Yeah.
So maybe it's more annoying, but just spending, I guess, like an hour with the network test, I was like, I see like maybe there's some potential there. I want to see it in the full game.
Cool.
The story is very uninteresting, anime in a bad way, where like the performances are kind of like, oh, okay.
Japanese or English?
I was watching it in English, but yeah, just like, I don't know, a very rough Souls-like, and not something that I would recommend, but I want to see where it goes. Like the first boss that you fight is just also very generic. It's just like, okay, dude with a giant hammer.
Sounds cool to me.
Yeah, it is, and it is cool. And it's hard because the things, I'm having a good enough time, and I think that's all.
Are we swimming in sevens here?
I think we might be swimming in lower than sevens.
Okay.
But it's hard to tell if like me wanting to play more is just like, oh man, I really like the Souls style, and that's kind of carrying it, but it's not even doing that particularly well.
Yeah.
And like, I even just like, okay, a lot of the enemies are like very generic. Like, yeah, you can go up and you can backstab guys, and it's very like hit, evade.
Sounds very familiar.
It's very familiar.
Now we're possibly lounging in sixes.
Yeah.
We're lounging in a six.
I think it's more like that, where it's just
like controller behind the head. Kind of.
I think it's like my own personal preference for this genre is carrying it maybe like even more than it deserves.
Okay.
Yeah, where it's like, oh man, I still kind of get a thrill killing bosses in this way.
Yeah.
Or and even having those moments where, to Code Vein's credit, I always like in a Souls-like game where you enter an environment and it's like, oh man, there are like 5 dudes and they're all like just kind of separated, or there's a guy patrolling, and if you're reckless and you just charge in, you'll get all of them on top of you and you'll get overwhelmed and you'll get killed. That happens here. Like there'll be guys that'll be wandering and it's like, no, I need to make sure that I'm going in, drawing them out, fighting them one-on-one, and they're very simple. That's still really satisfying to me, and you get that a lot in Code Vein. But yeah, I just wish it was a lot more polished than it was. I'm still going to play the full release.
When is the full release coming out?
They haven't said. They said still 2019. They have
Okay.
not given a date for Code Vein, which is unbelievable.
Yeah, wow.
But maybe considering how rough it's consistently felt, that's really
maybe they're saving it for E3. Like they'll announce the date or something.
Yeah, but we'll see. I think lounging in sixes is where I'm at currently.
It's co-op. We can play together.
I think so. When I've been playing it, I've just been focusing alone and with other AI, but I'm not sure.
Ben, if you got into Code Vein, I would join you.
Yes.
100%. If you're like, yo, I'm playing Code Vein, I'm signing up.
I remember, wasn't there something like with masks and with like some kind of like scorpion attack thing?
Yes, so you have like this scorpion thing, and when you backstab, it's this very cinematic backstab where it's like, it's going into them. Yes, yes, you are remembering correctly.
Okay,
for sure.
I played it like 15 minutes last E3, and it was like this blurry image of this game in my head.
Can I use an axe?
Yes, I used an axe.
Perfect.
in the network test.
All right, if you play, let me know.
Will do. So I have something that I'm actually pretty excited to talk to you guys about. We're recording this on a Thursday, and today the Stadia conference happened, and it's interesting. I have some opinions, and I want to get your opinions on this. And there's actually no forbidden word. What the demons did is they just were like, "Hey, man, you need to talk about this. You need to talk about Stadia."
This is their
We're
demands.
not sure. Yeah, they're like, you don't need to upset us or appease us. We just want to know what your thoughts on Stadia are. So we're going to have a conversation about Stadia. And I'm going to give you guys, in case you're not, I think, Blood, you're pretty up to speed. Huber, I don't think.
Not at all.
There's things to learn. And so I'll get you caught up. I'll get the audience caught up. And this will be our Caught in a Frame Trap segment, having a nice little chat about Stadia. So Stadia is Google's streaming service.
Okay.
And details on that is for a recommended 720p 60 frames per second, they recommend that you have a 10 megabit per second download speed.
Okay.
For the best connection for 4K 60 frames per second 5.1 surround sound, they recommend that you have 35 down.
35 down.
Yep. And then I'm getting this information from Kotaku, so credit to Kotaku. Today they announced Baldur's Gate 3, which is super exciting. If you want to get like
crazy,
it's a good trailer, yeah.
Yes, my thoughts on Larian working on Baldur's Gate 3. I think it's awesome. The teaser is fantastic, Huber. So all it is this guy, this soldier walking in the streets, like shit is bad, and all of a sudden he just looks like distressed. Panic. All of a sudden, his skin starts bulging, and his like fingers start bending in weird directions, and his skin starts splitting open, and he becomes a mind flayer.
Dude.
And it's just like Baldur's Gate 3. Let's go.
Yes.
So it was very short. Didn't really get into the details of Baldur's Gate 3, but
sold.
Yeah, as a kind of like I had a physical reaction to the trailer. I was like, oh, so that was good.
Perfect.
I liked that. Yeah, but anyway, so Baldur's Gate 3 will not be exclusive to Stadia, coming to Stadia, but will also be coming to PC.
What the hell world are we living in, man? Baldur's Gate 3?
I know.
What is
Well, it's great as they had
so
like a little dev diary moment in there too, where there's like apparently Larian had pitched this years ago.
This is good, yes.
And nobody would like they wouldn't give it to him, and then they're like, "Hey, do you guys still want to make Baldur's Gate 3?" And like, yes.
So they were like, basically the way they framed it is that they pitched it to Wizard and like nobody gave a shit, and they're like, yeah, and then we released Divinity Original Sin 2, and they were like, do you still want to do that? Which they've definitely earned the right to work on Baldur's Gate 3 for sure.
Awesome.
They also had a new Ghost Recon Breakout trailer. Coming
with
to Stadia.
the guy, what's his name?
Punisher.
Punisher.
Guy,
I don't remember.
John Bernthal.
Okay.
Yeah. So
What is it?
John Bernthal.
Bernthal, I think. Yeah.
Bernthal.
But yeah, so basically, like the story from like his perspective of like taking over the island and everything is pretty cool.
Dude.
Other games they announced for Stadia include Guilt, which was a cool kind of horror adventure game coming from Tequila Works. I think you would be into it.
Oh, yeah,
Huber. And this is Kotaku's wording, and a multiplayer Overcooked style game called Get Packed from Moonshine Studios. The Division 2 will also be there on Stadia. Now, getting into the details of what...
Mortal Kombat they showed too.
Mortal Kombat, yeah. And there's a bunch of other stuff like Rage 2 they showed. There are other games that we're not mentioning. But the ones that I'm talking about, they especially highlighted. They focused on a little bit more heavily. But Stadia Pro is going to be their subscription service, which is going to be $10 a month. And it gives you access to the service's games at 4K resolution. So if you don't pay the $10 a month, you don't get 4K. But if you do the basic service, you can still get 1080p 60. I believe that's correct, right, Bloodworth?
Yeah, although it's weird. I was like seeing different pages showed different stats. So like one page I saw said 1080 30, another one said 1080 60. But I think 1080 60 is correct.
Yeah, I believe 1080 60 is correct. So
wait, how much money do I need to give them if I just want to play? Let's just say The Division 2 on PC.
Here's the thing.
We'll get there. We'll get there.
Yeah.
The controller is $70 standalone.
Do I need the controller? Can I use a 360 controller?
You need
or mouse and keyboard.
You need the controller if you're going to play on anything except a PC, pretty much.
So I can play this.
So
you
can play it like on a TV connected through a Chromecast.
Yes.
Whoa. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Cool little detail.
Yes, but it's so. Their big thing with Stadia is that you can play everywhere, but you can't really play everywhere right away. So, like, at launch, you can only play on, like, the Pixel. You can't play on all mobile devices right away at launch.
Okay.
It's coming. They'll have other devices later.
TBA.
But, yeah, you can play on PC, and you can play on TV Chromecast as well.
Got it.
There's a Stadia Founders Edition, which will launch in November for $130. It comes with a Chromecast Ultra, a Stadia controller, a copy of Destiny 2, along with the new Shadowkeep expansion, and a 3-month subscription, along with a 3-month Buddy Pass.
It's a pretty good deal, I'd say.
Yes.
What's the Chromecast thing? That's a Chromecast?
You plug it into your TV.
And the bundle comes with one of those?
Yes, it comes with a Chromecast Ultra.
How much are those usually? Aren't those expensive?
Yeah, I'm not. I don't remember how much off the top of my head a Chromecast Ultra is on its own, but yes, I believe they're somewhat pricey. Not inconsequentially pricey. Yeah,
I think
for sure.
Phil Harrison claimed that it was like a $300 or something value on there.
Other games
good.
coming to Stadia include Assassin's Creed Odyssey, Doom Eternal, the Tomb Raider trilogy, Final Fantasy 15, Darksiders Genesis.
Yeah, the new one.
The new one, Metro Exodus, and others. So here's where it gets a little bit confusing, and their messaging today and previously was weird. And so the idea with Chromecast is a lot of people thought that you would pay this $10 subscription and kind of get a Netflix-like service. And paying this $10 a month, you will get free games. So like, the first one that they're mentioning and the only one that they're mentioning so far is Destiny 2. But today, in the details, it will not primarily be that way. It won't primarily be a Netflix service. What you're paying for, the $10 a month, the big thing is the 4K. And so mostly with Stadia games, the impression that they're giving off is that you're going to have to purchase games separately. And so that's a little bit frustrating.
Yeah, what?
While Google intends to eventually have a back catalog of free games included for your $10... This is from The Verge. This wording is coming from The Verge. While Google intends to eventually have a back catalog of free games included for your $10 monthly fee, Stadia is not primarily a subscription service. The subscription only includes a single game as of today, Destiny 2. Primarily, Google tells us you should expect to buy, not rent, cloud games for the same retail prices you'd find on other platforms like PlayStation Network, Xbox Live, and Steam.
Okay. So you're like renting.
No, you're not renting.
I mean, like you're buying the game and you're renting their power.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And so the perspective that they're coming from, I think the thing that they're hinging on is, hey, we're going to let you buy a game and play it on all these different devices, and you can stream it. You don't have to worry about downloading it. And
you don't have to worry about having the highest graphics card because we've got the highest graphic card. Yeah.
So it's $10 a month to play the game's max settings, basically.
Right.
To play those
it's
superior
it's
version.
The flexibility of the ways in which you can play it, and it's also the power, the fidelity that they're promising.
Got it.
Haven't actually played Stadia myself, so I can't attest to that, but that is the messaging that they're going for. However, and what I want to talk about is I don't think it's especially enticing. Like, the flexibility is cool, and promising the fidelity is cool. I think there's something there, and I think it's definitely the future. But for me, like, your free game that you get in the bundle for this launch edition is Destiny 2, a game that I've purchased on PS4 that I've played on PC. Like, I've done a lot of Destiny. Playing it in this new way isn't super exciting. And, like...
They did say that your Guardian can come over, though.
Oh, your Guardian can come over?
Yeah.
That's cool. But I guess what I'm saying is, like, I'm not that excited to rebuy games that I've already played to experience them in this new way.
Yeah.
Okay, and I think to me that's the kind of the breaking point is it's like, oh, it'd be great to play Assassin's Creed Odyssey anywhere, but do I want to buy it again if I already have it on PC, on Steam or something?
Well, I think of games coming out, and it's like, I mean, if you do the math, right, you're going to spend $120 a year on this. Well, a high-end PC is going to set you back like $1,000.
Right.
So if I just pay $10 a month, it's taking out the process of having to build a high-end PC.
Right. Well, and you don't have to pay that $10 a month. It's only if you want to stream 4K. Like if you're fine with 1080/60, which I think most people will be.
So say like let's say like a new Serious Sam comes out and it's like super or a new Crisis.
Right.
Crisis comes out and it's like crazy graphics out of control. This actually seems pretty convenient if I'm just give them $10 a month. All right, let me play Crisis, max settings, boom, boom, boom. All right, I'm done. See you later.
So the problem that I have with that is I think that's assuming a lot.
It's assuming that the service works as
well.
Right.
So here's where it gets a little bit messy for me is ideally this would be a really intriguing way to get a game, but you talked about like a new Crisis coming out where to me it's like, okay, first of all, it's a shooter. I want it to be very precise. I don't want when you're playing Stadia, that moment you have like this doesn't feel right, or there's a delay, or like the quality is fluctuating and distracting me for something that should be beautiful. It's like, man, do I really want to buy that over a PC version where I can like guarantee a more stable quality, I guess is what I'm saying.
Definitely.
Like if a game comes out that you really care about, do you have enough confidence that you want to experience it from beginning to end on Stadia?
Me personally, no, but I can see the appeal. Like I can see that avenue of like, like I used to build PCs back in the day. I've built a couple, and now I have this PC now where it's just like on its last leg. It's always got problems.
Right.
My internet is so spotty with it, but like better on my PS4 for some reason, wireless.
Right.
Than when I like
but
plug
if your
in.
internet is spotty, and that's part of the problem. Like Google just had this service outage this weekend. It's like
so. I don't know. I can see like the niche appeal. But
I just think something like this needs breadth, right? It needs like there's nothing in here that to me shows like, oh man, I'm gonna have a ton of exciting stuff to play on this. And I think that that's something that like Xbox Game Pass has done really, really well is like, here's this new library, it's constantly updating, and we are giving you new things, like first-party things, day and date, and so it makes the service really exciting. And just this lineup of games, and obviously a lot can change, it's like, it doesn't have that new and exciting, like there are things coming, but it's just, I'm not convinced that the library is going to be super robust, that it's like, okay, I really want to stick with this.
Yeah. And I just like
they also didn't show any sort of first party like we know that they have a first party initiative, but what is it? When is it coming? It's pretty annoying to me that like the only way to get in this year is with this $130 Founders Pack, but they don't tell you how long this early access is.
Right.
They want you to pre-order this right now. They like taunted you with your freaking username. It's like, hey, pay for it. Get in there now if you want your username. You want to claim your username. And like I've got like 4 Google accounts. Like just give me let me reserve it.
Yeah.
Just go in there, let me reserve it right now. Why do I have to pay $130 to get a username?
Yeah.
So it's just definitely some weird things.
Definitely.
Is this something that you want to try, Hubert?
I would really only use this in like the most extreme cases. Like I said, crisis, max settings. If there's something that I need to play max settings, because I've really, the last few years I've just been so console focused, PS4. Like my PC always has problems, like I said, and even when like my PC is working properly. Like, I don't need the high, like 60 frames, 30 frames. Like, I really never really care. Like, graphics or mouse and keyboard versus controller, I don't really care anymore. Like, just give me the game, whatever. But, if something was like, if it's an IMAX situation, like Crisis, I equate to the IMAX. You want, like, the max settings, max graphics.
But I think that's the frustrating thing, though, is, even though you're paying for this 4K service, we all know that, like, YouTube processing, it says it's 4K, but it's not the 4K that you would get on a disc.
Yeah. And just the vibe and the messaging I'm getting, it's not blue collar, it's like luxury. It's a luxury tax. Because you still have to buy the game and then you're paying additionally to use extra power to make it better, as they say, 4K.
Right. Well, the luxury thing is especially present in the fact that it's like, okay, if you want to play in November, the only way that you can play is if you get this $130 Founder Pack.
Yeah.
And like Blood said, we don't know how long that's going to last. When are they going to roll out the free service? Yeah. I just don't understand.
Like, again, though, computers are really expensive. So, like, I do see that perspective of, like, maybe I'll come in once in a while, a month here, a month there. That's a lot less than $1,000 on like a big rig to play some of these high-end games.
Right. And I think that is something that Stadia could lean on, and maybe by the time November rolls around, we actually get our hands on it. You're right. Like this is a great alternative. Like, man, if you have at least a somewhat reliable internet connection, the power is really there and it's fantastic. But it's just
a lot of uncertainties there.
Yeah, it's just
the internet.
It's just a lot of uncertainty, and it's just I don't think right now Stadia is making enough of a case for itself. And everything is like way too vague. I was hoping they would do this press conference and be like, oh man, I feel like I'm getting a lot of value in this Founder Pack. I feel like I'm getting a lot of value in this $10 a month. And it's like, hey man, pay $10 a month and you get Destiny 2 and maybe some other stuff later. It's just like, that's not how you want to come out of the swing.
They didn't even commit to a number of games per month. Like, added regularly. Like, well, how regular is regular? Like, I don't know.
Right, and I think that's the struggling sense that I'm getting with Stadia kind of on every level is it's like, I'm not yet convinced that it's going to be reliable enough. I'm not convinced that investing in this, like, they're going to really reward me or make it worth it, or that the support is going to keep expanding. Like, it just feels like a big, uncomfortable question mark at the moment.
Definitely.
And I think one of the big things for me, you talk about, like having the option, but it's not having the option. It's having to choose. And I think and I don't think Google will even go this route, but like if you could have the game installed or play the Stadia version, then it'd be like, oh, great. I can either play it or, if I want to deal with Stadia, then fine. But I've got that safety net of like the game's on my system. If I want to just like, if it's not working today or something, like I'm fine without being on max settings today. Yeah. But no, you can't. If the internet's being funky, you can't play your game, and your $60 is in the cloud.
Yeah, true.
Yeah, I think if it was more of a strong Netflix model, I would be Way more
like
okay
launching
with
with a really sick back catalog of like PC-centric games.
right.
Like you throw like Doom in there, Wolfenstein.
Right. If they were like, hey, you pay $10 a month,
Yeah.
you get this huge library of stuff. It would be more okay because when I have those moments where like, oh man, like there's this weird delay or the quality is fluctuating a lot or the service is down, I would feel way more okay with that. Whereas it's like, oh, I spent $60 on this game and I just can't play it.
Yeah.
Or the quality isn't there. Where it's like, man, if I had bought this on PC, especially if it's a game that I'm rebuying, if this is a game that I've already bought, it just makes me uncomfortable with that. You know what I mean?
Totally, 100%.
Like I just imagine, I keep getting
furious.
this picture in my head, this scenario of like looking down like the scope of a sniper rifle and like trying to track a guy, and like every time that you like move the gun, like you get this macro blocking to where like you like lose sight. Like nope, where is it? Nope.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, really the only way to know for certain is to sit down with it and play on those settings on your own PC. You know.
Right. So I'm not at all optimistic about the Stadia.
Like I don't even have a 4K monitor. Like I don't even have the option to do this if I wanted to right now.
I think 4K TVs are more common than 4K monitors, and I think that's what they're going for. Is just you Chromecast it to the TV in the living room. Yeah.
Yeah.
I've ordered one just because I want to know. Like even if it's a complete train wreck, like I just want to give it a chance.
Yeah.
I do that all the time with game stuff.
Yeah, and
so
I mean we'll be covering it. So
Yeah.
like I ordered one for the company just in case we can't, because I still don't know who the heck to actually talk to at Google yet. I have to get that contact sorted out, but we'll be able to cover it day one either way.
I guess the last question is do you think we're being too cynical about this? Is there more value here than we're acknowledging? Like, I
think there's very specific value.
What is that specific value?
It's really playing these games at a higher resolution. Like, say you don't have an Xbox One X. Like, I don't. I just have a regular Xbox.
Yeah. And
my pretty shoddy PC, if a game comes along that I really want to flex, and I'm confident in my internet, then if all the stars align, then I would be maybe convinced to try it out for a month.
Mm-hmm.
But as like something that would take over my living room and like make me put away my PlayStation or my Switch or my Xbox, like I don't see that happening to me personally.
Okay, so let me just throw a situation at you. But when the free service for Stadia is available, you're not in that situation. You want to play something in 4K, and Stadia is an avenue for you to do that. But your options are games that you've already purchased. Does that curiosity... Do you feel that curiosity is strong enough to like purchase a game for a second time? That's the thing.
No, like everything I've played now, like in its state, I'm good. Like I even played Doom on console. Like that's how comfortable I am now with consoles. Like I'm totally out of PC gaming at the moment in my life. And like anything that I had played not on PC from the past, like I'm good. It would have to be something in the future again, like Doom Eternal, maybe even, if the PC version is wildly better looking and faster, it's like...
So you may not buy a game, but you would like do the $10 service, play whatever free thing they're giving you. If it's just Destiny 2 or something else.
Yeah.
Sure. That's what you would commit to.
Yeah, something in the future that I really want to play on a powerful machine.
Gotcha.
But like next gen is right around the corner too, and you said the early access for this is November.
Right.
Like we're staring down the barrel of next gen consoles like next year possibly.
Right.
Yeah, and I think that for me, you're asking like whether we should be skeptical or not. I mean, like of course we should be skeptical. Google is coming in as a completely new player. All we know about their gaming knowledge is that they've got Phil Harrison and Jade Raymond, leading the charge, but they thought YouTube gaming was going to be a big thing, and they just shut that down last week.
The wild card that always gets me, though, no matter what, exclusives. So if they get some
of course
exclusive, then you got me no matter what. But as far as like third parties and the service as what it is, like I said, very specific reasons. But again, if you have Baldur's Gate 3 hostage and it's like, only on Stadia.
They don't, though. It's on PC. It's coming to PC as well.
Okay.
And I think that's where I'm coming from, is the initial reveal of Stadia, it felt like it was lacking details. It felt like it was lacking that wow factor of like, oh man, I can't wait to jump on board on this because there are experiences that I'm only going to be able to have there. It was just kind of explaining the concept. But I thought with this today, there would be a stronger case. And when it's like, yep, they're showing off The Division 2, a game I played months ago.
Yeah, totally.
When they're like, hey, the free thing is Destiny 2. It's just... and when they're really vague about the details, like, we hope to eventually have a back catalog of games that you can have. And it's like, oh, you can play on your phones, but it can only be these Google phones in the early access period, and we'll eventually expand that. It just feels like, especially when you're staring down, like you were saying how expensive PCs were, right? We're about to have Microsoft come out at E3, maybe promising a bunch of stuff with their next generation of consoles. You have Sony getting out there and saying details about the PlayStation 5, and it's like, I can only commit so much time and money to things. What ecosystem am I going to choose to invest in? A lot of people can't invest in everything.
Yeah.
And so, like, Stadia is something that you can try, but that's not how you want people to feel. You want people to feel confident in, I'm going to go into this thing, I'm going to commit to it, I'm going to invest in it, I'm excited about it. And I just don't think they're doing enough to generate that response, especially with E3 running around the corner, especially with these other companies that we already have experience with announcing new things.
Right.
Like,
well, and I think that was, part of my skepticism is that Google are treating this like an all new thing. And I'm like, it's new for you.
Right.
The rest of us have heard all of this before.
Right.
On live, I will never forget.
Right. And,
My friend was
and
such
I think
a believer.
that's the thing is, from listening to what Xbox have said about their service and the fact that they have Games Pass that they could combine with that service very easily.
yes.
It's instantly a lot more interesting. They've already got the backbones to where it sounds like they basically flipped a switch and like every game that they have digitally, you can play streaming.
Right.
Like, there you go. Like, you've got a library of hundreds of games suddenly available. And people are going to hear this. A lot of people are going to hear this after Microsoft's conference. So a lot of this is probably, like, they're going to know what the answer is and how these two stack up before they even hear this conversation.
Right. And you were talking about just, like, the ease of access and the power that it could afford through streaming. But if xCloud comes out and offers a comparable or better service, then it's like, okay, why Stadia?
Yeah.
And I just, I don't know. I don't think it has made enough of a case for itself.
Yeah, if it just had a bigger library, I think would be a lot more enticing.
Or a more unique library.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, or like you're saying, like a model similar to Games Pass, which they just don't.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. All right. That was our Stadia conversation.
Stadia.
I think with something like that, you always want to be like, oh yeah, I can't wait. That's exciting. We're taking a step to the future. But I just have so many hesitations.
Yeah.
That Google Stadia conversation, hopefully we appease the demons of the Frame Trap realm, was brought to you by our wonderful sponsors. Our first sponsor is Greg, TheDarkKnight Kettering. Thank you, Greg. Our next sponsor is Zotac. Do you play Final Fantasy XIV Shadowbringers? Coming soon. Are you on the Crystal Data Center? Search @Zotac on Twitter for a link to an EZA Crystal Discord server. Our next sponsor is JoJo's Dent Co. Thank you, JoJo's Dent Co. After that, we have Accounts Payable, who always gives us a free shout-out to anything. Blood, is there anything in the world? It could be a TV show, it could be a concept, it could be a game, it could be an Easy Allies video that you want to give a shout out to. I want to give the shout out to you. I don't think you've done one yet.
Oh, wow. Well, I mean, I'll give the shout out to that Devil May Cry retrospective.
Oh, thanks, Blood. Nice.
That's yeah.
Here's your $5.
Go watch that.
Our next sponsor is Gift of Heaven. Gift of Heaven is a free 3DS RPG which strives to be as funny as Earthbound, efficient as Chrono Trigger, and epic as Final Fantasy VI. Gift of Heaven quadruples every data limit of RPG Maker FES, using passwords to unite 4 game files as one bold explosion. O.M. Hochstelter is cooking the rip-roaring, full-blast, Tolkien, Potter, Forrest Gump combo meal you deserve to eat, and them Hochstelters don't skimp on the shrimp. Gift of Heaven's 43-minute promotional short film, Symphonia Anathema, is now available on the official Gift of Heaven YouTube channel. You could download the prologue August 7th via the RPG Maker FES 3DS app. Please tell Kyle Bossman, he's not here, but please tell Kyle Bossman that I just completed work on the game's first bathroom and the toilet is overflowing with context.
Okay.
Thank you, Gift of Heaven. After that, we have Blue. Thank you, Blue. Next, we have 2 brand new sponsors. First brand new sponsor is Jessie Blu. Hello, allies. It's my birthday this month, and also the first anniversary of when I discovered a small band of adventurers led by the Dungeon Master, Ben Moore. In September of last year, I became a patron of Easy Allies, and over the past year, I've enjoyed watching them and seeing them reach for their dreams. This, in turn, has inspired me to reach for my own dreams, so after many years of feeling unfulfilled in my career, I'm pleased to say I'm finally preparing to cut a demo to get work as a voiceover actor. Congratulations on taking that step. I decided that for my birthday, I wanted to give back to EZA by sponsoring Frametrap for the month of June. I also wanted to give each of you a chance to shout out to someone in your life that has inspired you to go after your dream. Family member, friend, teacher, anybody. And I want to say thank you to all 9 allies for working together to bring joy to their viewers in a world where, especially in the entertainment industry, love and respect are in such short supply. I have to say, I can't wait to someday be voicing in a game you are discussing. Is there anybody in your life, Huber, that has really inspired you to like keep going, keep pushing?
My mom.
Your mom. Shout out to your mom. What's your mom's name?
Marilyn.
Marilyn Huber.
Never misses a vid.
Nice.
Watches them all.
Thank you so much, Jesse. And again, once again, congratulations on taking that step. That's a big deal. Our last regular sponsor is Circean Studios, creators of the hand-drawn mobile fighting game Konsui Fighter. Konsui Fighter features 10 playable characters, a story mode with over 3 hours of content, local multiplayer, arcade, and training modes. Putting the power of a 98 era fighter in your pocket, Konsui Fighter is available in early access today at konsuifighter.com/early. To spell that, it is KONSUIFIGHTER.com/early. To celebrate our sponsorship with Frametrap and the month of E3, early access will be 30% off during the month of June. Let the tournament of the mind begin. We actually got to see this during the community showcase. They showed off the game.
Nice.
And it's just cool having a fighting game sponsor Frametrap. I think that's pretty neat.
Sick.
Yeah. And it is time for our mega sponsor, Heroic Replicas. The fine folks over at Heroic Replicas design and fabricate true-to-form, high-quality replicas and props. From cosplay to keepsakes or all-metal creations, Heroic Replicas can make something special for you. All of these links are available in the description. And thank you to Heroic Replicas for being a mega sponsor. And
Dude, I went to Heroic Replicas.
you did?
Oh.
Yes.
What did you see?
Some awesome stuff,
They
dude.
have all sorts of stuff. There's the Hylian Shield, a
Yes.
few different styles of Master Sword,
Nice.
the Transistor, and you can check all of this out if you follow them on Twitter
Yep.
at Heroic Replicas.
Good stuff.
Yeah.
When you say you went, you mean like to their website?
Yeah,
or you
the
went
website.
to the
No, the website.
Like, they have a store around here. Like what's?
Walked in.
Yeah.
GTA style.
Heroic Replicas, in an effort to mix things up, they had us do a little bit of a back and forth, so I got Huber in on that before the show.
Oh, okay.
Check
Just
it
to
out.
let you know. Thank you to Heroic Replicas for being a mega sponsor. Again, all of those are in the description if you want to see that. Thank you to our new sponsors, our new regular sponsors. And it's time to get back talking about games. Where are we going to go? Blood, I'm going to go back to you because there's a game I'm really curious about that you reviewed that I watched ACG do a review on, and I thought looked pretty interesting, and that is Observation.
Yeah. Which I probably shouldn't even put on here because it's so hard to talk about this game without delving into spoilers.
Don't be
Yeah.
too cautious.
Right.
We can put a spoiler warning. There's timestamps for every frame trap, so if you don't want to hear anything about observation, if you want to go in fresh, feel free to skip. But please take the room that you need to accurately describe the game.
Yeah, because I feel like particularly like I went into this game pretty blind. I saw Ian play through the intro, which was like before the opening credits even. And then after that, I'm like, I don't know what the heck this game is. But essentially, the tag or the hook is that, you don't play as someone on the space station, you play as the space station. And so you are this AI that kind of controls the station systems, and you are working together with one of the astronauts on the space station. And it kind of starts off like everything's in disarray, the lights are out, like you kind of can tell that the space station is kind of spinning out of control, and like you're having to kind of basically help get the station back online and figure out what happened, which was part of it too, is like when you do all your diagnostics is like your memory is like mostly corrupted, and so you don't know anything about like what went wrong or why this is happening. You don't know if there's any other astronauts alive on the space station. You don't know what's up at all. And so it's interesting because there's a lot of this back and forth with like these old school HUDs that look like 90s computers. Mm-hmm. A lot of things where you're working directly with the astronauts who are like, okay, this door's stuck. I need you to open this door. And kind of the way that you view the station is you kind of like move from camera to camera. There's just all these cameras in every room and module of the station. And so it's like, okay, you move to this camera, you can see this angle of this room. And then like, okay, you can see this door. And so then you can interact with this door. And then sometimes there'll be like, I think different sections of the space station have like different kind of like manuals and stuff. So sometimes like you have to like follow like a circuit path or whatever to like put in different commands to like override like the door malfunctioning and that kind of thing. And so a lot of the game, like I don't even know if I would necessarily call them puzzles, but it's like as you interact with different devices, it's almost like, okay, I've got to like follow this like manual of instructions to sort out how this thing works. This like highly technical piece of equipment that I've never used before.
Yeah.
Giving me anxiety.
And in the midst of all of that, there is this mystery, and the one thing that I will quote unquote spoil because it's before the opening credits and it's on the box art or whatever, is once she has you get a look at the external cameras and see what's going on with the outside of the space station, you look over and that's not Earth. Sick. You're at Saturn. And and she's asked like, how did we get here? And he sees, like, it's like, I brought you here. You don't know.
You don't know why.
You don't know why. But
is there an alien beast?
You get like all of these like messages and stuff start coming up on your head. You get all like these extra symbols, which one of the cool things, I don't know for sure like what all the symbols means. They're mostly like pictographic symbols. But by the time I had gotten to the end of the game, I figured out like, these symbols actually mean something. Like these are actually instructions in a quote unquote, language, because I could pick out like this and this and this. Okay, this I understand. Like this is identifying that character, and this is identifying this character, and this is like a verb in between them. But I only like caught that at like the very end of the game. It was like, oh yeah. And then I started like looking back and like, okay, some of these other, okay, that symbol's got to mean Saturn. But yeah, but there's a lot of what is interesting. Huber, you've seen Annihilation, right?
Yeah.
Natalie Portman. I watched that like the night before I played this game, and the vibe is so similar. That like the same exact vein of sci-fi, to where you're like you don't know all the answers, you're not going to get all the answers.
Sure.
Like there's a lot of stuff in there. It's just like, what is going on right now? Like, whoa.
Just the premise, not having actually played the game myself, but just the premise. There are some things that I would be naturally hesitant about. Playing as an AI, depending on how like the AI speaks, it could get very boring, I guess. Is the take on AI that it speaks kind of at a normal human cadence and tone, or is it very like classic AI where it's very monotone and
it's more
limited?
monotone, but it's not talking with like limited syntax or anything.
I see.
Yeah.
Is it an interesting character in its own right?
Yeah, I think so. Like
Okay.
there's definitely like, even though it's more reserved, I would say there's definitely like a somewhat of a personality to the way it delivers lines. Yeah.
Sick.
And just the idea, when you're saying like, hey, you're jumping around from camera to camera, like, does that remain interesting? Like, do you feel like it's ever, I guess, too stationary or?
Well, the one thing, the other thing that you do get are these. They're like these little camera spheres.
Oh, okay.
So there are times when you can move around more freely, and actually there's times where you go out of the airlock and you kind of like fly around outside of the station.
Yeah.
So there is a bit more freedom of movement, but there are times when you're given that openness, and you're like just like looking through like audio logs and stuff like that, to where like it kind of gets a little bit more dry.
Okay.
But so it's one of those things where like the times that are more dramatic, you have less control, and the times that you have more control, it's a little bit more like mundane.
You made me think of a question with the logs, but the other thing that I was wondering is the astronaut. Is this the astronaut and your interaction with them? Are they completely autonomous? Do you have to worry about them at all, or like do you need to give them commands at some point, like, hey, go over here and do this, or like go look?
You don't
here,
give her commands. No,
Okay.
she's always giving you commands
So
and instructions.
she's
yeah.
constantly giving you stuff to do, and so you don't really have to worry about them.
Right.
Okay, got it.
And there is like I think there's a really good sense of like actually feeling like you're working together as a team. Like I think that bond works out really well.
Okay, so is there a lot of banter between them? Like, are you getting to know her quite a bit more as you're going and trying to solve problems?
There were times where like she'll lose patience with like if you like put in like a wrong sequence or something, and like she's panicking. She's like, "Come on, I need you to get this right." So
Sure.
yeah.
Are you ever in any like time-sensitive situations where you can fail them and you have to reload a save or something?
I think so, yeah.
Okay.
But it's not like I don't think it's like a long jump backwards.
Gotcha.
Yeah. It's pretty, yeah. Checkpoints keep you going.
So is it just audio logs where you're getting things, or is it also text logs?
There are some documents and photos on the wall in places, but it's mostly audio logs. What they have, or they have like laptops around the station.
I see.
And so as you're going through, you kind of scan the data on the laptops. And so sometimes there's information that you need in there for operating a device or something, or activating something. And then there will also be the audio logs from people that, are mostly optional, but some of them really they really do give you a good idea of what was happening, what kind of interactions and relationships the crew had with each other, what kind of tensions that were going on, and kind of really do give you a pretty good understanding of like why you ended up in this situation.
Audio logs can be immensely frustrating because I find a lot of times you'll pick up an audio log and then something will happen, and you can't fully.
You're like in a shootout
Yeah.
while this character
Right.
is talking to you like this.
Right, and obviously this isn't that. It's
Right.
not like action heavy, but it can just they have this halting effect on a game where it's like, okay, I guess I'm stopping whatever I was doing, whoever I was interacting with, whatever I was doing, and it's just that can be fine. But if they do too many of them, it feels like it can really interrupt the flow of the game. Was that ever an issue in Observation?
I think because it has kind of a slower investigative pace anyways, it's not so much of an issue. I still think because it's on a laptop and like you're also reading the text as you're hearing it, like I think you can even like skip ahead. Like all right, I've read it, and just keep going. So it's not like as bad as like a BioShock or something when you're like trying to listen to something and then Big Daddy comes around the corner and you just totally missed it because you've got to like survive.
Did you feel like you spent a long time on the puzzle solving? Was it ever frustrating or especially difficult?
No, it was. I don't. That's why I was like, I'm even on the fence of necessarily calling them puzzles because most of the time it was pretty much just sort of like figuring out what to do and then like, okay, this does that and that interact. Okay, and I get it. So it wasn't that hard. There were a couple of points near the end where I just wasn't sure what I was supposed to be interacting with. And so, yeah.
Right at the end, too. So, how long were you spending on these sequences where I was like, oh man, what do I even do?
Not too long, like an extra like 10 or 15 minutes or something. Yeah.
So not like an hour.
No,
just kind of
yeah.
aimlessly looking around. Sure.
Yeah. And it's hard, again, it's hard because it's like, I don't want to spoil things, but you get some intense stuff. Like you get these moments that you don't know what's going on, and you get these moments of like, okay, this is where this is going. Okay, yeah. So
sounds cool.
Yeah, it does sound
2001 vibes.
Intriguing. Mm-hmm. I'm intrigued.
I'm very intrigued.
As we say.
And again, it's another game that's only like 5 or 6 hours, so you can do that a night or two.
Probably 9 for me because of the puzzles.
Golden Light. Huber. Another game you've played another game that I've never heard of, called Effie.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, like I watched the trailer, but that's all. I don't know what this is.
Brought the indies today.
You did, which I feel like doesn't happen too often with you, so that's kind of cool.
Yeah.
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 Not that you like don't like any games, but it's just like, oh man, he was bringing some small guys.
Yeah. And I started The Last of Us again yesterday, so but I didn't bring that. Right. I like stopped playing some DMC5 and like the craving was so powerful.
Yeah.
That because like there was news that the servers are going offline for Uncharted and Last of Us on PS3.
Right.
Yeah.
And that like got Last of Us on the brain and it's like E3 time.
Once The Last of Us gets in your brain, it doesn't leave. Yeah.
I like beat it like a year or so ago, but it's been a minute.
How many times have you gone through Last of Us?
This will be the 5th time fully. So I'm on my 5th. I want to finish it all.
Then what was the split between PS3 and PS4?
I did it 2 times on PS3, 2 times on PS4.
Cool.
This will be my 3rd time remastered. Next time we'll talk about it.
But Effie is not The Last of Us.
No, it certainly is not. Effie, I've only really played an hour, so I don't have too much to say about it. But you are this old adventurer, but you're not really old. This witch like aged you Orochimaru style, like sucked your life force, and you go on an adventure to like reclaim your youth, I guess.
Okay.
So you're like this old dude. Low budget game, more of a platformer puzzle game, and like adventuring around. There is combat, but it's not the best. You're fighting like these little ghost creatures and you have this shield and there's like, light attack, heavy attack, block, but it's just very splashy. Your character will just like start bashing like the shield and he like kind of zips around to the things and you don't really feel like you're hitting them that all too well. So the combat's not the best, but it feels good to explore. The environments are really wonderful. There's like this colorful aesthetic to it. The game opens in like a cool temple and you like unlock a double jump and you're collecting these ruins and solving puzzles, like activating switches. And then you just come out into this big, open, like No Man's Sky almost looking place, red trees everywhere. And you have to like free the cities of the corruption.
Is this third person or?
Yeah, it's like a third person adventure game, yeah.
Cool.
So.
And you're playing as an old man,
You're playing as this old man who looks like this the whole time? He has like this weird smile.
Yeah. So, as this old guy trying to reclaim his youth, does that age ever have that effect on how well he's able to perform in combat or
not that I've noticed, really.
Okay.
Again, it feels good to play. That's kind of the big thing. It gives me a Timothy versus the Aliens vibe. Game Kyle and I.
That is okay.
It was this black and white gangster game where you shoot aliens, but it's like a kid's game. This gives me very similar feelings. I like that one, I think, a little more. But this game's cool. It's just a small little thing.
What does it look like?
It's really colorful.
Okay.
So it's got like a cartoony, colorful vibe.
He's kind of a paladin looking.
Yeah, he looks like a paladin. He's like short and stocky. He's running through.
Does it have like a sense of humor about it? Does it play it pretty straight?
Yeah, because he's reading a story from a book, so he'll like kind of comment.
I see.
When he jumps and he's like, that jump felt good that day.
Okay.
Or so, so we'll comment on stuff.
Does that kind of commentary, I guess, ever get annoying?
No,
You're like,
no.
Okay, I've heard it.
When you open a chest, he keeps kind of saying the same thing, like, I feel great or something, but it's fine. So, again, I only put like an hour in, but I heard it's pretty short. So
Sure.
Yeah.
So only an hour in, do you feel like really motivated to play a bunch more, or is it just kind of like, that was fine?
Yeah, it's in a weird space. It's like sometimes personally I need, this sounds like a criticism, but I need a zone out game, a low stakes zone out game that I can play in like 20-minute bursts.
Yeah.
This kind of feels like that, where, I'm not always in The Last of Us or a Devil May Cry kind of mood,
Absolutely.
Nothing heavy, no investment, no stakes, fire something up, turn off my brain. Feels good to collect things. Like you're collecting these little runes. It's got like the Spyro kind of feeling of like, I see some up there. I'm going to go get those.
Huber, I definitely get in those moods quite a bit where it's like, okay, I just want to play something that doesn't need my full attention. Just like grind away and like have a video on in the background or something, or a stream on or something like that. Yes,
totally.
Absolutely.
So, Effie, yeah.
The last game that we're going to talk about, I feel a lot better about than Code Van. I'm actually really excited to talk about it. Speaking of network tests, I've done a lot recently. I did Neo 2, which I streamed. We talked about Code Vein. I also did the network test, beta, whatever it is, for Granblue Fantasy Versus.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Was this the one with the video of the town from like 3 years ago?
Blue
cape in a town?
No, that is the Platinum Games Granblue RPG.
That is what I want. Where is that game?
Yeah.
Give me the details.
Yes. So, well, it's not being worked on by Platinum anymore.
Yeah.
But
that RPG one?
Yes, that RPG one.
So
but they're still carrying the work that Platinum did. I don't remember who is picking it up.
But is it still coming?
Yes, it's still coming. This is from Arc System Works.
Oh, this is a fighting
Guilty
game.
Gear, Dragon Ball FighterZ fame.
Got it.
Yes. So Blaze Blue, that sort of thing. And so that was a big reason for why I wanted to check it out.
Same universe?
What?
Same universe as the RPG one coming out?
Yes. And this all comes from a mobile game, which I have dabbled in several times.
Got it.
But never beyond light dabbling. So I'm like somewhat familiar with these characters, but definitely not an expert on these characters or super invested. And so it was interesting where I was like, okay, I have some vague familiarity with this universe, but I really like Arc System Works games. It has the Guilty Gear XR Dragon Ball FighterZ kind of like 3D models, but they look it's the thing that I need to say about this game immediately is it is gorgeous. Like they just keep getting better when it comes to visuals. Like it's so inviting. The characters are so expressive, so colorful. And I really liked this game. I kind of went in being like, yeah, I like Arc System Works games. I'm going to check this out. Granblue has always seemed cool to me. I like what I've experienced in the mobile game. And I walked away being like, I cannot wait to play more.
Nice.
And what I like about it is it is a very easy fighter to immediately pick up. You look at, like, it was one of those things where because it was a network test, there wasn't a training mode or anything, and that always worries me, because I've done fighting game network tests where it's like, holy shit, I really need a training mode. Like, I just need to figure how this thing works. I didn't feel that here. I felt like I could just look at a command list and, like, immediately click with a character. It has a pretty slow pace to it. Characters don't move especially fast, and their commands are pretty simple and straightforward, and it's more about just like, okay, finding the right time to strike. It's not like it's not moving so fast that you can't comprehend it. It's very slow, and like I was playing Catalina, who has this rapier, and it wasn't like, oh man, I got to do all these crazy combos. It was more of like, okay, I have to find the right time to attack and just find the right time to poke, and it just felt very methodical and satisfying.
Nice.
Which I really liked. And it kind of has this interesting system where it has simplified special moves. So you can do the normal command. So you can do like core circle forward and a button, or you can do a simplified version where it's just like a direction and a button. But if you do that, it goes on a cooldown. So you can't just spam the simplified mode if you want. And it also means that if you do the simplified mode, you can't do an EX version of that move. So you can't do a powered up version of that special move. And I really, really like that, because sometimes I feel like when fighters have an accessible option like that, it's like, okay, just mash away or just don't think about it. And like they have different ways of balancing it, but I like it here because it's like, okay, I did the simplified version, but that comes at a cost. I have to think about when I need to use it.
That's good.
And it's like it's removing other options from me. There's a immediate consequence to this that I need to think about that is really cool.
I like that.
Yeah, it's very, very good. And yeah, it's just, I don't know. I guess there really isn't a lot to say beyond that. All of the characters felt very distinct immediately, like all very different, but I tried out all the characters and felt like I kind of understood the concept of them all immediately, which I like. It's nice going into a fighting game and feeling like, oh, I can play all these different characters of all these different styles. It's like, oh, you have the fast rushdown character. You have the more keep away character with Fairy, who has this giant whip and just insane reach. You have this tiny character who is just really gets in your face and is very aggressive. And then you have something like Gran, this kind of, jack of all trades character that can do a bunch of different things. It was nice being like, okay, I have a bunch of things that I can get comfortable with very quickly. I'm not just limited to this. It looks gorgeous. And the other thing is the connections that I was getting. So I was playing on PS4 wired connection, and I felt like more often than not, I was getting very solid connections, which I liked. And so it was like, okay, this seems reliable. I definitely had a laggy match or two, but it was not like super cause for concern.
Classic laggy fighting game match.
Yeah.
Metal chestnut.
Right. Man, the thing about laggy matches is like it makes losing feel worse, and it robs the joy of winning.
Yeah.
For sure.
Like, I just got to get through this.
Yeah. And I guess the other thing that I want to say, just in this network test, is I felt like I was playing against a lot of people who were new to fighting games, just like the way that they were playing. It wasn't like expert level. It was like definitely people still trying to figure things out. But I like that. I think if you are looking for a fighting game to get into, this could be that. I think that I've talked about this with several fighting games recently. Like I think Mortal Kombat 11 is very easy to get into. But if you like the style of this, I do think this is very approachable.
Do you think that's because of people coming from the franchise, from the mobile game?
Yeah, it could be. I'm not sure why. But yeah, I imagine there's probably a good number of people that are into the mobile game and want to do this. But yeah, but I think when you have a game that is accessible like this, the fear is that like, okay, it's too dumbed down, it's too simple. And I wasn't feeling that at all. I felt like I was learning with every match, getting better with every match, and still having to put plenty of thought into what I was doing. And so it that could change with more experience. It was just a network test, not a very large amount of time at all. But yeah, it was just cool to play something like this that I didn't have a lot of expectation for. And I'm like, yeah, I want to play more for sure. So that was awesome.
Nice.
Yeah.
Fighting games intimidate me.
Yeah.
Even Mortal Kombat 11, like the one I'm most intimately attached to, I played there pretty recently and got through the campaign and did some towers, which were really fun. And then I just went online and just got destroyed like every time. And I know like, it's like a StarCraft situation where it's like you got to put in the time and then you'll learn. And over the course of a couple days, you'll start winning matches. And it's like just that commitment, I just don't have time for with a fighting game. So it's either like commit or get stomped.
Yeah.
It feels like there's no middle ground sometimes.
The thing that's hard, not just in fighting games, but I think any competitive game is like, it's one thing to lose and be like, okay, like they definitely got me there. If I just shore up that weakness, like I can overcome it. But then you have those losses where it's like,
no chance.
I don't even know.
Yeah.
I don't even know.
Yeah.
I feel like I didn't even play the game. I don't know what to improve. I don't know how to get better. And when you feel that, it is extremely discouraging because it's like, if I go to training mode, like I don't even know what to improve. And so like, I guess the question that I would have for you, Huber, is like, what were you encountering that was like so debilitating? Was it just the fact that it was a bunch of losses, or was it like the way that you were losing?
Yeah.
Like, what were people doing? That
Combos, man.
Sure.
Just like people comboing you, and it's like, what do I even do here? You know?
Yeah.
Just like they get you in a couple combos, and they're like, I'll get out of it and like maybe try a combo or something, and they'll just counter it and combo me again. It's like,
Did you do the tutorial in Mortal Kombat 11?
Yeah, all of them, yeah. Full tutorial, full campaign, like again, training, and then a bunch of towers. Then I went online, like when I felt good, but still just got owned.
The thing, I think in a lot of fighting games, and something that I'm glad you're bringing up Mortal Kombat 11, because I think it's true for Mortal Kombat 11 and Granblue, where you have these slower paced games. What can be really frustrating is like finding your opening, being like, okay, like they did a bunch of stuff. When is it my turn? And what you need to learn is like, okay, what are my moves for when that opening is available? What's fast enough that I can get in on that window and swing the tide over.
I did, even through all the losses, felt myself getting better because I was so aggressive. And then I realized, like, no, I gotta wait. And like, oh my God, the flying kick
gotta wait for your turn.
So punished.
Yeah.
So I stopped doing the flying kick so much. And then I started throwing in like low fireballs and like, dude, Liu Kang has really good kicks. So I was doing all these sick kick combos that I was getting good with. And like the dragon parry is really awesome.
Because
dude, that was 11.
That was a big moment for me, and a good thing to learn in general. Is once you have that moment of like, okay, I can't just do special moves because special moves are so punishable, and like I'm just gonna get blown up, and they're so predictable. Because what you want to do is you want to do like, okay, hit into a special move, and then make it a lot more safe. Because if you just do a regular hit and then it gets blocked, it's like, okay, I'm not leaving as big of an opening for them to attack. And so getting into that mentality of not just being like, okay, like bicycle kick, bicycle kick, that helps.
And fighting games, I think, is the only genre where like I really stress about inputs, and it takes away so much of my brain power. Right. You know, I think it's something like I'm playing DMC5 right now, or any action game for that matter, where like that stuff's second nature. I'm not even thinking about it really.
Right.
I'm thinking about the enemies on screen, and just my fingers are taking care of the rest. But like when I get into a fighting game match, I'm like thinking about the combos and the moves, and also what that person's doing. So it's like my brain is divided so much.
And I think that's something that helps in like a Granblue Fantasy, where like I was just landing, like not even you didn't even need to do combos, like just hitting regular attacks and being careful and being like, okay, block, just poke, and just playing like that at first and being like, okay, I'm going to play very defensively. I'm going to find out where my openings are. And then once you feel comfortable with that, then start doing simple combos, then start doing, okay, normal attacks, going into special moves, then finding openings for supers. And so, yeah, just like don't focus on combos right away.
Yeah.
Like just get comfortable with the flow of a match for sure. But
I think I need to be less aggressive.
Yeah.
Fighting games.
Like something like Soul Calibur is really good for that too, where you can just get so much off of just regular attacks and not needing to worry about crazy combos.
I think that's why Smash is so awesome, because it's just like, get in there.
Yeah.
You know? Like, Smash in a nutshell. Get in there.
Yeah.
It's like, give me Bowser and just smash.
Yeah. Smash, like, just, I think about Smash is just people moving all over the place and being very evasive. It's just about finding the opening. Like, okay, where is it? Where can I hit you? Where can I get that Smash attack in? For sure.
What's next for Smash? Who just got released recently?
We're gonna find out at E3.
Yeah,
but the most
probably
recent
gonna find out
DLC
Saturday.
character. So it was Piranha Plant, and then it was Joker from Persona 5.
Yeah. And who else has been announced? Nobody. So we have no idea.
E3's coming, man.
Oh, baby!
I
supposed to be
think
4 more, right?
Oh, baby!
What's
Supposed to be 4 more?
I'm not sure what the total. I think 4 more. I'm not sure.
It's gonna be someone from Microsoft, isn't it? It's going down. It's a Microsoft character.
Constantly people are speculating about
It's Banjo, dude. It's Banjo time.
People
Huber's
same
convinced.
Banjo, people saying Minecraft.
Banjo.
Rio
Ryo Hazuki.
Hey, Microsoft.
Yeah.
I think they're going to have a pretty interesting E3 this year.
Yeah.
And that's what we're going to be talking about during today's HOTTAKE! We're going to be talking. So I wanted to talk about E3, but then I was like, no, wait.
This episode going up right after the press conference.
This does?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's okay. Why I said we're shooting this on a
Yeah.
Thursday.
Okay.
Well, it'll be going up for early access on Saturday.
Yes,
So
that's
some
true.
people will see it. before
I'm just
the
saying,
press
it's just
conference.
like it's just funny because like every word we say about this is
gonna be right or
people are
wrong,
gonna know
baby.
it's wrong.
This moment,
We'll
though,
probably be mostly wrong.
this moment, like message in a bottle moment, it's right now.
Right.
All the dreams are a possibility. All the dreams are a reality.
I really think Microsoft. I'm really fascinated, more so than anybody else, about the tone that Microsoft is going to take, what they're going to talk about, because there's a lot that could happen. So I want to give you some context here.
Okay.
The reason that we're focusing on Microsoft. So this is coming from Telegraph. So the reporting and wordage here coming from the Telegraph. Rumors have it that the next Xbox offering, operating under the codename Scarlet, will in fact be 2 consoles.
Right.
Lockhart is suggested to be a lower price, lower powered console focused on digital gaming and cloud gaming, while Anaconda will be a premium offering and a spiritual follow-up to the Xbox.
Anaconda.
I just think of my Anaconda.
I think of Jennifer Lopez, dude. I think of a movie, man.
Really?
Anaconda.
I haven't seen Anaconda, so.
Dude. Good kill in there.
When I think
One
of
kill.
Jennifer Lopez movies, you know what I think of?
Money Train.
I think of The Cell.
Dude, The Cell.
The Cell is weird as hell, man.
It's so weird, but so good. Have you seen Money Train?
No, I haven't seen Money Train.
Woody Harrelson, Wesley Snipes.
Not a Jennifer Lopez film buff.
Enough. That was a really good one, too. Dude, Jennifer Lopez has some damn good movies.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool.
He's an Anaconda, man. That's where we got
Anaconda
we got
will be a
Anaconda.
premium
Yeah.
offering and spiritual follow-up to the Xbox One X. This will feature all the bells and whistles and is, if rumors are to be believed, packing more raw power than the PlayStation 5.
Whoa.
That's a weird
Shots.
rumor considering we don't know anything about either one.
Shots fired.
Sure.
Again, yeah, this is rumors.
not-
Another thing,
They're not done. Yeah, okay.
right. A good thing to bring up, for sure.
They could be done, though. You never know, right? Like, what if Last of Us 2 is just a PS5 launch game? Honestly. Is
Sure,
that
I just
so
think,
crazy to think?
like a lot of those specs aren't totally nailed down yet. Yeah, but
Got it.
Another thing that Microsoft is very likely to talk about is the xCloud, the streaming service looking to bring Xbox games to any device. Expect a deeper dive on the technology, perhaps even a release date and pricing plan. This will, of course, mean that Microsoft games lineup will need to be the best it has been for many years. They certainly have the studios to back them up now after spending on they acquired Obsidian, Ninja Theory, Playground, and hopefully we'll take a look at what these studios are working on. Perhaps Fable 4, strongly rumored that Playground Games is going to be working on Fable 4. And then we're going to get updates on things like Halo Infinite, Gears 5. There's also like Battletoads. There's also Ori and the Will of the Wisps, which I imagine we'll get.
The stage is set.
The stage is set.
The stage is set, Microsoft.
And then
Phil Spencer said 14 first-party games.
Yep.
cool.
I remember that number.
And then I got this from GameSpot. It said that the Ninja Theory game is rumored to be called Bleeding Edge, and coming out in 2020.
Ninja Theory.
That's
So-
got to be a code name, man.
That's the thing about this
That's so
HOTTAKE.
silly to have
that-
a next-gen game called Bleeding Edge.
Bleeding Edge. Hellblade looked a Bleeding Edge.
Something about Bleeding Edge that
Gets me
seems like
hyped.
such a Ninja Theory name to me.
Yeah.
Like I don't know. It just kind of fits the vibe that they've gone for in the past to me. But yeah, something I do want to say about this HOTTAKE. This is not like confirmed. This is all just speculation.
Love speculation.
We'll know a lot more soon. But I think there's so much exciting to talk about here. Like learning about these new consoles. The fact that there are possibly two consoles, a low-end one, a high-end one, and just the fact that Sony, their most direct competitor, is not going to be there.
Yeah.
How are they going to come out in the show? What are they going to announce? What are they going to talk about? Do you think they'll really take this opportunity to crush it? Like, what are your thoughts going into Microsoft in E3?
I remember last year being blown away, being really pleasantly surprised because they came out and it was just like game.
Yeah.
That's something they've been very committed to.
Yeah. And that is always what I love. Those are my favorite press conferences where you're just bombarding.
Except this year they can't. They've gotta, it was kind of like how Stadia fumbled by not telling us everything right off the bat. Like,
I think it can have that perfect in a perfect world. It can have that perfect balance of it all. They can really nail it, right? They can have those moments where it's game. They can have those personal, intimate, human moments where they have some of the studios they bought, people coming out, talking, this is what we've been working on. And they can have the moment of showing off a new console and really diving into specs and numbers and all that stuff.
They did have people come out from time to time last year. Kamiya came out. So.
Yeah. The tone that I want to have with Microsoft, and I actually think could really happen, is next gen, you want to be with us. We've got all your bases covered. You want this system, it'll fill your needs. We have the games, and here are all the reasons why you can be confident about it. And man, I feel like Microsoft has just done a great job of building to this moment. Yeah. Game Pass is awesome. And if that's the mentality, the Game Pass mentality, if that's what they're carrying going forward, I think they are poised to really come out swinging when it comes to next gen. And the other thing, the thing for me is just the games have been underwhelming from Microsoft this generation. Things that have come out and have been disappointing, like State of Decay 2, like Crackdown.
I still haven't finished Gears 4.
Brad and I really like Gears 4, but
Brad and I are on chapter 3.5 out of 5. We just dropped it. We just stopped.
But what I like is I'm not going into E3 2019 being like, man, I hope Microsoft has stuff to show. It's like, no, man, we got these guys. Yeah. We've got Obsidian. We've got Ninja Theory. We've got Playground, and they've done so many quality things, and they're on our side. Yeah. It's like, oh man, you are definitely going to bring it. There's things that are going to be like Playground doing Fable. I don't really like Fable all that much, but I think Playground Games doing Fable is potentially super exciting.
Definitely.
Blood, how are you feeling?
I'm ready for them to crush it, particularly on this cloud gaming thing. What I saw of their presentation to developers at GDC was very thorough, very well thought out. Just things I wouldn't think of, they were thinking of and talking about to developers. And they were at that point were rolling those cloud servers out to their different sites. So that stuff is pretty close to ready to go. They've been testing with employees and stuff. So I could very easily see them announcing some kind of public beta starting this week to start getting that ball rolling. And if I was saying, criticizing with Stadia, if you can have the library of games that you already own digitally just be cloud games as well, kind of like how they have the crossplay with the PC and the Xbox, anything that qualifies for that is your games are already cloud games.
Yeah.
Then they're gonna be crushing it. Put that together at Games Pass, they've got a lot going for it, and I think that the rumor of the two consoles kind of makes sense because they've been doing that a lot this gen already, and cloud gaming just makes that a little bit easier. Towards you don't want the more expensive system, that's fine. This will take care of your needs. You can have local games or you can have streaming games. And then I'm really, even going into that GDC talk, I'm and all the other little things that have been happening, I'm still kind of pinning my hopes on this idea that some crazy way they're going to bring xCloud to Switch as well. And just have that, totally dominate the cloud gaming conversation. And I don't know what we probably won't know for a while, concrete details, but this deal with PlayStation also somehow connecting to their cloud system, that's nuts.
I feel like so many gaming services, rarely am I oh man, they're giving me so much for this monthly subscription. It always feels underwhelming or oh, I guess I'll do it. But with Xbox Game Pass, it's if you have an Xbox, Why wouldn't you do this? And that's how services should feel. And I feel like just in general, Microsoft has had kind of that mentality of we're going to add more value to these things and we're going to make it like easier to want to buy into us. And I think that is they've built up goodwill, and that's exactly the kind of goodwill you want to go into the next generation with. Blood, you said at this xCloud presentation at GDC that they were tackling questions that you wouldn't even think of. What were some of those questions?
I think the main thing was just how do we address people playing on a phone if they don't have a controller convenient? And there were just all of these different solutions that they had. And just the fact that they have this perspective that even though controller is always going to be the better way to play, there is this younger generation than us who don't really have a problem playing Fortnite on the phone. Mm-hmm. Don't really have a problem playing the upcoming Call of Duty mobile on the phone. Like that. Those people are out there and they're playing games on their phone, and for them to just be able to play an Xbox game on their phone is like, yeah, no big deal. Towards like, oh, we can hook our controller up to the phone, but they can play without that, and it's just a way more convenient option to be able to do that, particularly because they're allowing this adaptive UI to where the game knows that it's being played on a phone. And so we're going to take away all these extra things, and we're just going to like give you the functions that you need this moment. And they're talking about how with Halo, if you're in a Warthog, you're going to have driving controls, and that's all you got to worry about are driving controls. So you just step out that Warthog, it's going to adapt to give you shooting controls. It's just like very seamless kind of things like that. And talking about also how the developers won't have to go through this patching and approval process. Like they can just update their game to put in whatever extra functionality they need to make it easier to work on the cloud, but because of the way that their back end is built, everything already works on the cloud. It's baked in.
Huber.
Yes, sir.
What do you want to see from Microsoft game-wise at E3?
I mean, exclusives, obviously, right? Like this is not the console war. Okay, I'm not opening up that can of worms. I'm just saying, I always follow exclusives, and Microsoft has always lagged behind for me when it comes to that, stacking it up against Sony or Nintendo. There's always just a little less for me to play on the Microsoft side. So just any big exclusive from them will get me more excited than any cloud-based whatever, any, Game Pass, subscription service, any of that. I'm there for the one and only games. So,
for me, it's Halo Infinite seems potentially very awesome. Oh, yeah. A new Gears seems potentially very awesome. Mm-hmm. More Forza seems potentially very awesome. Like it's not that I'm not interested in any of those things, but I feel like it's kind of been Gears, Halo, Forza, Gears, Halo, Forza
my whole life.
Yes.
It feels like my whole life.
Yeah,
honestly.
And that is definitely a generalization. That is not strictly true. Yeah. But what I'm saying is I want more things like Ori. Yes. I want to look. Yeah, I want to say, here's this new game, here's this new console that's coming. Mm-hmm. Here are brand new experiences that not only look exciting, but we're going to detail how they're new. Like, I don't just want like fancy CG trailers for everything. It's like I want to feel like I understand what the game is, why I can't miss it, and why like I'm excited for your new platform to be able to play this thing. Yeah. I need more of that.
Yep.
And third-party stuff is great, and again, doing these established franchises is great, but that's what I really want. I want to feel like this new step forward with this hardware is a new step forward with games as well.
Yeah.
That's what I want.
Definitely.
And I don't want it to just be a promise. Like, it would really bum me out if they do announce these new things, but it's just kind of like vague CG trailers that don't like leaving me with more questions than answers. Mm-hmm. Obviously, you have to expect some of that, but I don't know. I'm hoping there's more detail.
Maybe I'm just like E3 Eve hype train right now, but I honestly think we could see a game running on the new Xbox this week.
Yeah,
I think next gen. Let's go.
I think it's likely.
Yeah. I had a dream last night. I was lying in bed and I was dreaming of the Rocksteady rumored Ninja Turtles game set in the Arkhamverse. I thought of what that could actually be next gen. You're just like these Ninja Turtles going through. You can also, like, there's parts where you also play as Batman and it feels like very Arkham, you know? But I just thought of like the combat as a Ninja Turtle, like going in the shell and stuff and just like, you know, just that Arkham tone, you know? Like you imagine your Wrath like solo going through. Oh, man.
You said you were thinking about this as you were laying in bed.
Yeah.
I love that. Your imagination is so big and your passion is so strong that it just seems like you were just entertaining yourself. Just like
I was playing it in my mind.
Yeah.
I was just imagining like going through these stages. Like,
your imagination was giving you as much, if not more, satisfaction than like turning on a TV show.
Yeah.
That's great. Yeah. Blood. What do you want to see game wise from Microsoft?
I'm just trying to put my finger on like how to describe it, but I feel like kind of the missing element for Microsoft first party games compared to PlayStation is I don't feel like they tend to feel personal enough. I don't feel like we get the same depth out of their characters. Like they try for some drama in Gears and they try for some drama in Halo, but it still feels kind of like halfway, like they just dip a little bit below the surface, but they don't really flesh out these characters that strongly. And I think there's that element of more personal stories as well as just kind of more of that creativity and going just beyond like just pure like action and adrenaline and that kind of thing, you know, it's stuff that will like make you go like, what the heck even is this? Like a Death Stranding, you know? It's just like, you know, and make you, give you more sensitive emotions than just like, we're in the thick of it, we got to shoot these guys, we got to tear them down, holy crap, did you see that big thing happen kind of vibe that seems to be like most of what Xbox has been focused on in the past. Which Fable could be that. Ninja Theory could be that. Like, they've got a lot of potential. Obsidian could do that.
In the past, with both the original Xbox and the Xbox 360, there seemed to be kind of this strong drive to get exclusives from, like, prominent Japanese studios. So I think of, like, Panzer Dragoon Orta on Xbox, or Ninja Gaiden being only on the Xbox for a period of time, or
another Ninja Gaiden showed up, dude.
or Mistwalker on the 360. Do you think what I'm saying is, do you think they need? Obviously, they've been acquiring studios, but do you think they need more of that, where it's like, hey, this next big Capcom game, we've locked it up and you can only get it on here?
Dude,
do you think it needs stuff like that?
I don't think they need to lock in a Japanese developer.
Dude,
not necessarily a Japanese developer, but I guess things like that, of that caliber and prestige.
Can you imagine, like, dude, Sony got Bloodborne. Can you imagine if Microsoft's rumored game, or like if the Game of Thrones from thing was an Xbox exclusive? That would be, one move alone would be earth-shattering.
But to me, that's not outside of the bounds whatsoever, because I think that's the relationship From Software has. Is, you know, they don't self-publish their games in the West, and so, you know, they've worked with Sony, they've worked with Bandai Namco, they've worked with Activision. They're gonna find a publisher that fits the game they want to make, and why not Microsoft? There's no reason not to. So it's just a matter of somebody from Microsoft knocking on their door and saying, hey, what do you got for us? What's interesting that will be great for Xbox?
I want there to be this just astounding trailer for that new From Software George R.R. Martin collaboration game. And I want it to end with just George R.R. Martin sitting in a chair by a fireplace going, I'm an Xbox guy. Okay. To wrap up this conversation about what we want to see with Microsoft at E3 2019.
Specifically one game, Enslaved 2.
I was just going to say,
Really?
like, what outlandish
Enslaved
dream
2.
do you want?
Do you
Enslaved 2.
think that they have the rights to that?
Very good question. I have no idea. It was a multi-platform game when it originally came
Because
out.
that was Bandai Namco, so...
Blood, you took it right out of my mouth. I want Ninja Gaiden.
Right.
Dude. Be so intense.
I want Ninja Gaiden.
Ninja Gaiden.
What about you, Blood? What do you want?
I'm way down to see what Playground can do that's not a racing game.
Yeah.
I think that, one of the strengths of Forza Horizon has been that open world and putting a lot of interesting things out in that open world that you don't expect, and giving you incentive to explore without just putting a bunch of waypoints everywhere. So, yeah, I think that Fable in a way would be slightly disappointing just because I've never found Fable appealing.
Shots.
But whatever it is, I think they could take Fable and make it in something I'd find appealing. So
yeah, I'm not the biggest Fable fan for sure, but I think just the fact that it is a completely different team on this hardware, like it almost doesn't matter. Like it'll just like, not saying that it won't feel like Fable, but it'll also I have full confidence that it'll be its own distinct thing. That just because it hasn't appealed to me in the past, it doesn't necessarily matter here.
Let's get a new James Bond game while we're at it. Let's go. Bring it back.
Sure.
What kind of game do you want?
Oh
a
my
new James
gosh,
Bond?
like,
FPS or third
all
person.
of that freaking
You okay?
Nintendo buddy happening right now.
GoldenEye, let's go.
GoldenEye HD.
Yep, GoldenEye HD, or just another new Bond.
It's a
like take
step
another crack
closer
at
to
it.
being a thing that could happen.
Because was
Yeah,
it?
I hear you,
Sure.
but just take James Bond in your own new
Yeah.
direction.
Did-
Don't just.
Oh, I mean,
Did
they
you
could
ever play
they
the
could do a
Daniel
double
Craig
header.
Bloodstone one, third
I
person?
did not.
It was really cool.
Cool.
Really cool Bond game. So I think I don't know,
did
Bond
play
would,
the-
Bond would be exciting.
I did play the Wii GoldenEye, and I was like,
Yeah. Or Banjo. We'll take Banjo. We'll take it.
You'll gloriously accept it.
Yeah, we'll accept it. We accept the terms. Rare.
Are we ready for some emails?
Yes.
Wrapping up this pre E3 episode of Frame Trade. I can't wait for like the audience. Like, so many people are going to be watching this episode and being like, "Holy shit, they were so wrong." This is
Dead
hilarious.
wrong. Dead wrong.
Yeah, dead wrong. Look at these fools.
But if a Bond game gets announced, we
We're
got
gonna
it.
look like geniuses. That's it. High payout. Yeah. Our first email comes in from Brandon, who asks, "What's the one game or franchise you would abandon long-held principles for?" Hello, everyone. Final Fantasy VII Remake is my most anticipated game of all time, as the original is my favorite game of all time. I'm going to break personal rules in regard to this game. I never pre-order, but no matter how bad the game may be, at the very least I think it'll be good, or how many parts it is, which is something I still can't wrap my head around, I still want it day zero. I never go for collectors or limited editions, but I'm going to figure out which one is best for me and throw down the cash. So I ask you, do you hold similar rules when it comes to games? And if so, are there any properties you hold dear enough that you would forsake tried and true lessons you've learned in the name of having as much of that which you treasure most? Thanks again for taking my questions. If you do, and stay easy, fellow allies. So, like, just general rules that you come up with, like, oh, I'm never going to do collection editions, or I'm never going to pre-order. What do you break those conventions for?
I will never play a Resident Evil for the first time when the sun is out. The lights have to be out. The shades have to be pulled.
But the question is...
if, say I had, like, a kid or something in the near... Not that I don't, But I'm saying family matters would eventually, like, probably break that tradition. Like, as I'm getting older now, I don't really have as much control over when I get to play video games, because you're living with someone, people work, it's like multiple lives in the equation. It's not just me and my time. So like you kind of...
What if your kid makes a Resident Evil?
Then I better get that like early access. I don't know. But yeah, I'm becoming more open now to kind of just like playing when I can. So it's like, I haven't had to yet, but I have imagined breaking those rules.
You're okay with something that you never were before.
Yeah. Like, I would never play Resident Evil unless it's, like, pitch black. Like, day one of Resident Evil, like, it sucks because I would, like, get it in the day and, like, wait. Like, with Remake 1, though, my mom helped me, like, black out my room. So it was, like, that one time I did, but then, you know, every time since, like, anytime Resident Evil comes out, I just wait all day till the lights go out.
Nice.
Yeah.
Blood, anything that you'd be willing to break?
The one thing that kind of caught my, because at first when you first started reading the question, I'm like, I don't know what, like, I don't have any principles. I'm not trying to set rules for myself. But you mentioned collector's editions. I'm like, yeah, I don't care about collector's editions for the most part.
Right.
But you know, there's a chance like the right Metroid collector's edition, like that could get me. Yeah. You know, like if I really like, you know, whatever statue or thing that they put in there, then yeah, I could be down for that.
Blood, mine's the exact same thing. For a long period of time, I would say like maybe from like 2008 to maybe like 2014, 2015, I was pretty into collector's editions. I really liked them, and I got a number of them. But it just got to a point, and has been that way for a while, where it's like, nope. Like, I just don't have room for this. And I find that, like, oh, man, something seems really cool, but do I need another statue? Do I need another thing that I, like, look at once and then never care about again? And so I've really cut down a lot on collector's editions. That doesn't mean that I'll never do them, though. And it's the same thing with you, where it's like, oh, okay, like, I really love the art style of this. This comes with a sweet art book. Maybe I'll get that. Or, like, I really love... I don't know. I could just see a number of situations where it's like, oh, no, I think this would have value to me. I'm willing to spend the extra money to get the collector's edition. So, yeah, that's I guess, a somewhat soft rule that I've
This is beyond something that probably be included in a collector's edition. But, like, imagine if you had, like, a remote control morph ball that somehow transformed into Samus. Like, they figured it out.
Awesome.
That would be scary. Like, showing that to somebody. Like, somebody comes into your room and like, hey, check this out. Whoa, my God. Yeah. Giant Samus. Yeah. I was thinking, like, life size for it.
Oh.
Yeah.
That'd be even crazier.
That's, yeah.
I wasn't
wouldn't be
thinking
scary
quite
if it was
life
just, like, a little action figure, but I was thinking, like, life size Samus popping up.
Yo, they're going to show BioShock, aren't they? Microsoft.
I don't know.
Collector's edition made me think of the BioShock when
I always think of BioShock.
Didn't they say like
the Big Daddy was like this like good material? It was like this heavy steel model. It looked really cool. It was really high quality. It was like the best collector's edition I ever bought. I like BioShock. It's not my favorite game ever, but
yeah,
that collector's
edition. I'm like trying to think. Like Ken Levine was talking about like working with smaller team stuff, but at the same time, 2K would probably want to just have somebody else make a BioShock. I think that rumor's been out there.
Oh, they're like, they've been working on it.
Somebody's been working on a BioShock.
Yeah. New BioShock would be,
but
they're showing
it. They're showing it.
If they
I'm not convinced that they're showing it.
If they showed BioShock, it would be a trailer and nothing else. They've been pretty clear that like Borderlands 3 is it. That's all we're gonna do this year. So,
the other thing that I want to say is I really love it when a game just earns my confidence so much that it's like, yep, I will get this right now. I have no doubts that it's going to be awesome, and that, or at least that I'll get a lot of time with it. Like Monster Hunter World Iceborne, where it's like, okay, Monster Hunter World was my 2018 game of the year. I got so much out of it. Like, I'm okay with getting the Digital Deluxe Gold Edition for Iceborne just because it's expanding on a game that I already have full confidence in. I love when you can go into a purchase feeling that.
Definitely.
Yes.
Deluxe edition of Remake 3.
Yeah. Like, you're, like, not...
I'm all in.
I think there's a difference between having full confidence in something and guarantee that you're going to love it.
Yeah.
I think that's more accurately what I'm trying to say, where it's like, okay.
You're a Monster Hunter fan. You're in.
Right.
Yeah.
That's the thing is with Resident Evil 3 Remake, there's no guarantee that I guess you're going to love it absolutely, but you have confidence in it, especially after Resident Evil 2 Remake.
Yes.
Like, you're going to play it. You're going to buy it. You're going to play it. And because you're a Resident Evil fan, but also because Resident Evil 2 Remake was so good.
Let's get that DLC going. Should you release some of that, Capcom?
Our next email.
Yo, is Dragon Dogma 2 going to be there?
Don't.
I think it's a little off. I think it's a little ways off.
It's going to release. Our next email comes in from Alexander with the subject, technical problems that help. Hello, wonderful panel. I was recently playing the PC version of Observation, and since it takes place in small rooms on the space station, I've set all graphical settings to max. However, when I got a chance to travel outside of the station, this happens early on in the game, so it's not a big spoiler, my frame rate dropped down to 10. Whoa. My FPS dropped down to 10 at best. In any other game, this would be a significant problem for me, but since I was playing as a broken space station, I just thought that this was low-quality video feed, and it's a great illustration of the station's communication problems. In some ways, low FPS even helped get me more immersed in the game. Did you ever have a similar experience when some technical problem with the game only helped you get more immersed into its world?
Wow.
I don't know if more immersed, but I've definitely had games where like I wasn't supposed to be able to go up a mountain or get up on a ledge, and like somehow I just like kept jumping up against it, and eventually like it just worked when it clearly wasn't supposed to. That has definitely helped me. But more immersed, I don't know. It's kind of a tough question, which I find it interesting.
I don't have any examples, honestly. I'm drawing a blank here.
Yeah, me too. I've definitely come across my fair share of weird technical problems.
But usually when it happens, I either, if it's a big one, I get angry or I brush it off. It's not like a positive, it's like, oh, whatever. Oh, some lag or like, oh, I clipped through a wall.
Yeah.
Nothing. Can't really think of anything.
Are there any, so expanding the scope of this question, because I do want to get you guys some answers to this email, is, are there any glitches that you can think of or problems of the game that you enjoyed that added some value?
The one I always go back to is Game Shark. It's like a hacking thing, like a Game Genie.
Yeah.
Game Shark was on N64. And my favorite one ever was with GoldenEye. Talking about Bond a lot this episode. It was with GoldenEye, and you could access... you could like walk through the water on the dam, the first level, and you could go all the way out to this island base, and it was like this building over there. Just they didn't use for the game, but it was like this whole other area over there. It was kind of empty, but still really cool going over there. And most importantly, there was a cheat to go through doors. So if you used that in multiplayer, if you did 4-player multiplayer in GoldenEye, and you did the facility, which is the best level, you couldn't ever access the back half of the level that you did in single player. There was like the whole, end room where the huge shootout happens. If you used Game Shark, you could access that level, so the whole level got bigger in multiplayer, and you could like hide up in this huge area and like snipe down at the door. So it just expanded the level even bigger. And it was like the coolest thing ever. It was so fun.
Nice.
So cool.
Nice.
Yeah.
Blood, did you think of anything?
That
level can be really
I've come
small.
across some crazy cheats or glitches and stuff, but yeah, my mind's not pulling on anything right now. Hey,
that's all right. Our last email is kind of more of a response to something we talked about before. We were talking about is it difficult for younger gamers to get into older things just because they're used to a different standard. And we had a response from NJ that kind of gives their own personal experience. On the last episode, there was an email regarding how difficult it might be for younger people to appreciate older games. I thought I would share my perspective on this as a young person. I'm not a child/teenager, but I am younger than the allies and a lot of people who work in the games industry. While I don't generally think that's of much consequence, I do feel a bit of a disconnect when game journalists talk about older games or compare them to new releases. I can appreciate what older games did for the medium in a historical sense, but that doesn't make me hold them in higher regard than the games I grew up with. I was born in 1997, so I've never known a time without 3D games. It's hard for me to relate to people who see N64 games as revolutionary, even though I know they absolutely were. That isn't to say I can't enjoy older games. I love Earthbound, Yoshi's Island, and Persona 2 dearly, even if I think their gameplay can be clunky. I think in many cases, if a game has good ideas, characters, music, or art direction, those aspects can carry an otherwise dated experience. But that's just my take. Also, controls absolutely are a factor in whether or not I can go back to a game.
I honestly just been thinking about this a lot over the last year. I really do think games are better now than they've ever been. Ever. We are in just a golden time. Mm-hmm. So I've just been like reanalyzing old games, and I can just understand, you know, if somebody didn't play Mario 64 when it came out, I can understand going back to it and it not feeling good.
Yeah.
You know, because like whether we like it or not, technology is a huge part of video games, no matter what, like no matter how you slice it. And technology now is infinitely better than it was back then. So like I get it.
I think it comes in. I mean, I think what they were saying about controls is the hugest factor. Mm-hmm. And I think it comes into mostly both of those transitional periods, like with the first wave of
3D.
Home consoles and the first wave of 3D, right? Mm-hmm. Like going back to an NES game, that's great.
Yeah.
Going back to an Atari or a television game is just like, oh, man. Going back to an early CD-ROM game is like, oh, goodness, this is rough.
Yep.
But I also think that depending on your age, different things might be harder or easier to go back to.
Right.
And everyone is different. You know, it's impossible to generalize. Like, there's probably 15-year-olds out there who love, you know, N64 games, like all of them, or, you know, just everyone is so different.
What I will argue, though, is I think if you kind of reach a point where you're like, man, I love games to the point where, like, I think I'm going to like games for a long time, and it's one of my primary, like, activities, I guess, that I do in my free time. If you kind of just get into something like let's say Mario Odyssey is your first Mario, I do think what can be just beneficial purely from an educational standpoint is going back to Mario 64, and even if it feels really rough, being like, oh, okay, I can see kind of this trajectory here of how they built up. Like, I think it can be really satisfying and help you appreciate the things you already love more if you can go back and kind of trace that lineage.
Definitely.
Even if you don't enjoy it as much as the new stuff.
Definitely. And if you're patient, you know, it's kind of like you have to like assimilate into it. Is that the right word? You know, you have to like adapt into it.
Yeah, like I mean, you've gone back and played the original Deus Ex.
Exactly.
Like that's a hard game to settle into.
That is exactly what I was just going to bring up, because my roommate in college never played it back in the day, and he's a philosophy major. You know, he's a thinker. He loves that era. Like, he loves cyberpunk stuff. So I had him go back and play Deus Ex. And for the first couple hours, he was like, dude, I can't get into this, man. It's so old. It's clunky. Like, I just can't. After a while, though, he connected to it, you know? And I think if you haven't played those older games, or if you're not going to... There's a time, there's a length to try to get into it, you know?
But this is why I think kind of games adopting a Netflix model or something like Game Pass is so cool, because being like, okay, listen, you need to have a lot of patience and you got to go find a copy and spend money. Like, that's a lot to ask.
Yeah.
But if you're already paying for a service anyway that has this stuff, I think it's a lot easier to take that and to spend that time because it's just around. And that's what I love about games in the future becoming even more widely available and people being able to check out like a huge range of things very, very easily. Yeah. I think that's exciting. Yeah. Cool. If you would like to send an email into Frametrap, the email address is askeasyallies@gmail.com. One more time, that is askeasyallies@gmail.com. It was an honor, Michael Huber and Daniel Bloodworth, to talk about E3 stuff, to speculate. We're going to have a very busy week starting on Saturday and continuing through Friday. And yeah, we're going to go rest up and do that. Thank you so much for watching. Until next time.